I karaoke'd Friday. I sang it. Afterwards, I told my wife, all right, I can't sing the rest of the night. I don't know how he does it. It's crazy. The Doge, I was talking to, as we were talking to Brian, it's the reaction to this insanity that is, I think, the most interesting. And that includes people on the right. There's a lot of people out there on the right who are uncomfortable with how fast things are going. They're uncomfortable with a lot of things. It's weird because we gripe as human beings all the time. We want change. We want change. Give us change. Give us change. Come on, let's get change. And then when change comes, we're like, hold on a second. Let's not this fast. And it feels fast because we're basing everything on government. In reality, this is not anything faster than you would see in the private world. In the private sector, things go fast. That's what they do. Unless you're, maybe in a smaller town, maybe things don't go as fast. We'll get to it on Monday kind of stuff. But in big business, it's about it's adapting to situations, it's taking things on, and it's approaching them in a way where time is truly money. The amount of ridiculous money that we waste. If you were to tell, I don't know, everybody on the left, all the money we're going to save, all the money we were going to send over to and by, I don't even know how many of these things are real, but some of the stuff that I was pointing out to Bell, the insanity of, $400 million in trying to help other nations when it comes to everything from inclusivity to, voting to, just wacky stuff that they're out there and stuff I can't even say because it's too hilarious. And probably we could get in trouble. The truth is if I was to tell the left, hey, we're going to take all that money, we're going to put it into health care, you'd be like, oh, well, wait a minute here. You're going to put it into health care? Yep, we're going to work our way towards giving people an option to stay private or to go with the public option. We're going to move this over here. They would love that. This isn't about the programs. When I hear them say it's about these programs are amazing and they're incredible, Chad. You just don't really understand how you think it's great. It's not. It's a bunch of crap. A vast majority of these programs are, well, it's soft power. It's not even soft power. We readily admit, it's the CIA uses a lot of these things. We're going over there. We're going to be like, hey, we're going to help people with democracy. And by that, we mean we're going to overthrow your government. That's kind of what that is. We've got our fingers in all kinds of stuff. And there are great programs out there. Programs, by the way, which aren't going anywhere. They're just going to fall into the purview of the State Department. So the Secretary of State will say, hey, look, there's issues over here with, in Sudan right now. And the Democratic, Republic of Congo, whatever it's called this week. I don't even know who's in charge of this week. There's issues over there. We've got famine. We've got real issues. We need to get these people as much food as we possibly can. We need to get in there. We need to make sure the warlords don't take it, which is always a big nightmare whenever any of these things. Because the corruption the problem is you go to an NGO in some of these countries, and the corruption's tremendous. Stuff never sees the light of day. The reason we got into Somalia all those years ago is because we were sending food and stuff over there. The UN was watching it being taken away with their little silly blue helmets by all the warlords, Adid and everybody, and they were taking it, and people were still starving. And that's the way these things have gone forever. We've talked about one of the great Christmas songs of all time, oddly enough. Do they know it's Christmas? Well, for all that money raised, what happened? Goes over to these places. They have these big, trucks to go, and there's 100 trucks. Out of that, 6 of the trucks make it to the people they're there to help. The rest of it gets divvied up amongst the warlords and everybody else. It's a game. And it's awful. And we don't want to see people starve. But the reality is, it's just kind of what's been done. And now somebody comes along and says, we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to not fund some of these things the way that we used to. We're going to look at the stuff that's going to benefit us and where we can use the soft power. And then we'll go from there. Earlier today, Congressman Burchett was on with CNN, and boy, this started out fun.
Right, but I think that there's a lot of Americans who are supportive of this effort to clear out government waste, including members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. But there's also concern by how much access Musk and DOJ staffers have to their private, sensitive data. You're also on the House Oversight Committee, and given what we just talked about, Musk's investments with China and billions of dollars before the government, and now, potentially having access to all this private, sensitive data and not having full transparency on what is happening with that.
Yes, ma'am.
What information do you actually have on what DOJ is doing with that data? What are your questions? What do you want to know? Certainly, as a member of the oversight, you have some questions.
So she spent 30 minutes asking him a question, right? And by the way,
I was getting ready to say, man.
So the thing I liked about it, we were watching it earlier, Bell and I. He's got a skateboard behind him. He's at any given time, he's just like, I'm out here. I'm gonna go skating. It's just better recognize.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So with Burchett, he's in there talking. He's got this skate. He's got a longboard too.
Tim. Oh, yeah,
he's got a
yeah.
longboard. He's gonna go out in a moment. It's like, dude, I gotta go hit it, man.
I gotta go hit the powder.
You guys don't even understand anything. So this is what he had to say.
Well, first of all, Elon Musk, when he owned PayPal, they never had a breach of security. IRS is a nightmare, ma'am. You have folks that still haven't gone back to work 3 or 4 years after COVID. As a United States congressman, I can write a letter of concern over a constituent of mine having a problem with the IRS, and it takes up to 6 months for me to get a response.
Look, I'm not saying there's no problems with government agencies or the IRS.
Hold on. You asked me a question.
But you're not answering it.
And the IRS the IRS has hundreds of different groups that have access to this stuff, and yet no one's complained about that. You don't hear
there's checks and balances in place for the specific system. That's not true. Even the IRS, even politicals and the former IRS commissioner who was just on the show yesterday said even he didn't go to it, and it's highly unusual for politicals to have access to that system. Do you not have questions about what they're doing with the data, why they want access to private tax information from Americans? Do you not have those questions as a member of the Oversight Committee?
Well, first of all, are you really that worried? I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think these 20-somethings are going to go in there and they're going to get everybody? Everybody's data is already on the dark web. If you guys don't know, they've been hacked twice in the last couple of years. That stuff's out there. So if you want it, you could probably go and buy it if you know where to look. Somebody hit me up yesterday and said, you really think that this billionaire doesn't want to make more billions of dollars? I'm like, are you being serious? So what do you think? He's going to take all of our data, and who's he going to sell it to? Citibank? Chase? Tell me, who's he selling all this data to? What's he doing with it all? Or is he looking in there going, look, what the hell's going on here? Why does it take a gazillion years to get anything done? Why does it take 6 months to get any kind of conversation back from the IRS? Why is everything so antiquated and running on stuff that is an absolute joke? Why are we so far behind in all of this?
Did you see he had a chart that he tweeted out of people that were the age groups
120
that were getting Social Security checks. One person was over 200 years old, and one was over 300 years old.
Yeah.
They're still cutting checks for.
Still cutting where's
that money going?
No, that's a great question. The deduplicate, by the way, is the other thing. So let's say Bell has my Social Security card or number, and I have the same number. They'll send it out to both of us. There is no finding out that, hey, wait, we're sending money to the same card. There's none of that. That's how, the whole waste and fraud, we could sit here and talk about it. It's one of those things where, why are you so dead set against fixing it? Because this is the way it's always been done. Because it's always been done this way. We'll always do it this way. Well, then you're always going to get what you get. And what you get right now is a broken, antiquated system. I mean, take away the crying and the freaking out, like, oh my God, the world's coming to NBS. I mean, that's hilarious, and those people they're unhinged. Let's look at, they're still trying to operate on horse and buggy when the rest of the world has moved on, right? We're through the combustible engine. We're into a jet engine now, and they're still trying to do the horse and buggy. It's crazy. It really is. That we have to sit here and go, but we've talked about it for years. We'd like to find somebody who would come in and take a look at this. It's not that people are against it. It's who's doing it. Like I said the other day, it's not the message so much. It's the messenger of this message that they hate. Because this is the richest man on the planet. Because he's all of the things that they can't stand. They can't stand the fact that he's the one that may get it done, that he may be better at this, that he may be right. It is the messenger they hate, and they hate him. Man, yesterday, watching more of those, they're like, let's deport him. I'm like, he's an American citizen. By the way, he's also a Canadian citizen, and for those of you who want to have a real laugh, he's African. So he's truly an African American. Oh, jeez. Thank you. But it's the messenger. It's not the message. It's not. Yeah, for some people out there, a little bit. If you work for the government and you're in that particular program, the message you may not like because they're going to get rid of your pretend program. But the messenger themselves is the person they can't stand. We talked about it over the last couple weeks. If you'd have brought anybody else in there, from Warren Buffett to a bunch of nerds who the Democrats picked, it wouldn't have mattered as much as it does this. Even if they would have found that the Democrats had done a whole bunch of wrongdoing, it's this messenger that they hate the most because they think he is evil and they think he is bad. They think he's all the things. And let's not forget a few years ago when he was trying to save the world, take us to Mars, working on climate change, getting to net zero, doing all the stuff. He was all the things that were great. But it's the messenger right now. And the messenger has sided with Trump. And because of that, well, all hell's broken loose.
I have questions. Only reason you'd have questions is if you're doing something crooked. And you're going to see a lot of congressmen with red faces when they follow this paper trail back to members of Congress, ma'am. And that's the bottom line. Where were they fussing the last 3 or 4 years? I mean, we've had these groups different groups have access. Hundreds of different people have access to this that are nowhere in the scope of what needs to be, and yet no one raised one peep about it. Now Elon Musk gets a hold of it, and he's going to do something. He's going to make some changes that need to be made, and you all are pitching a fit. It's the same old line, and you attack the message
here. To be
here,
clear, you all were not pitching a fit. As I said, a lot of people think it's a good thing to weed out waste, but there are fair
questions. Fine. Who are the people asking those questions besides the people that are upset about their jobs? Oh, are you guys heading over today, by the way, to Dallas to check and see how the 1,700 people are being laid off there? Are you guys going over there? Or is it only the bureaucracy that is being cut and the people that are angry about the fact that they're civil servants? Whenever I hear that, I'm a civil servant. Well, let me get you an award. Here's the medal. You can wear it around all day when you sit around your house. Yeah, clown. Coming up today.
You're forgetting one thing, though, Chad. You think of the poor politicians who aren't going to have slush funds to use to buy votes.
Yeah, it's true.
How are they supposed to get voted into office?
Well, they'll figure it out. They'll figure out another way to give you something. But that civil servant thing, whenever I hear that, look, if you're donating your time and you want to say, I'm a civil servant and I make minimum wage and I'm sacrificing everything, you know what? Man, that sucks for you, and I'm behind you, and thank you so much for your service. If you're a civil servant and you're making $150,000 a year, I don't feel really sorry for you.
In fact, if you're making that much money, shut up.
Yeah, shut up on your face. Coming up, by the way, guys, the nature will mess you up. I have arguably the greatest, dumbest nature will mess you up in the history of it.
Just the shark attack?
This is the greatest, dumbest shark attack ever. And this person got everything they deserve. That's all I will say. A bunch of other stuff to get today. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Birch Gold. Hey, they're going to go look at Fort Knox. What if there's no gold? You better get your gold now. That's why my buddies Birch want to help you out. How about the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era? All you have to do with Birch is text Benson to 989898 today. Now, when you do that, they're going to get you out this great book, The Ultimate Guide to Gold in the Trump Era, as well as an investment kit. Let you take a look at what's going on out there. Uncertainty in the market? Absolutely. How about some uncertainty in the world? 100%. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that shortage of metals, lots of fear around that, and inflation. You may want to protect yourself to the downside. That's what gold gives you. Been around for, ever, and you want to be a part of being, diversifying all that stuff you have in your portfolio, and gold is one of the ways to do it. It's not going to cost you anything but a little bit of time and a text. That's it. Text the word Benson to 989898 today for Birch Gold. They'll get you an investor kit as well as the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. That is Benson to 989898 today for Birch Gold. Hey, we see what's going on out there in the world, and with the election the way it is, the way that there's uncertainty out there in the world, and especially in the market and globally with potential geopolitical issues, you want to make sure your retirement is protected. And Beacon's got the Retirement Ready Toolkit for you. It is your money, investments, and even your retirement that you worry about, and you want to protect those things, and Beacon's there to help. So if you're nearing retirement, Beacon Capital has a free Retirement Ready Toolkit just for you. They're local. You go shake their hands, say hi to them. This is what you're going to get: a Money Enough for Life book, retirement planning checklist, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper. So it's not going to cost you anything. There's no obligation, and there's no pressure. Guys are amazing over there. Like I said, they're local. Check them out. Go get this Retirement Ready Toolkit because it's great to have. Call 615-488-9303 today for the Retirement Ready Toolkit. That's 615-488-9303, or find them online at askbeaconnow.com.
Tracking the approaching winter storm, Governor Lee assessing flood damage. Russia and the U.S. have agreed to get everything in place to begin negotiating an end to the war in Ukraine. All this and more, 1230 on Super Talking 99.7 WTN.
Somebody says, I can't wait for you to get fired because you're laughing at the people. I'm not laughing at the people. No, I'm the attitude of the bureaucracy. Those same people out there who are upset and that they're running around going, oh, my God, it's the worst thing in the world and blah, blah, blah. You don't care about the people getting fired today somewhere. You don't care about the people at Southwest getting canned.
1,700.
You don't care about any of that stuff. I don't see you writing there going, oh, geez. No, you don't, because it's politics. And politics makes us this weird world where we have to choose a side. I would love it if our government was inefficient and we didn't waste money, but we do. And I understand that some of these U.S. aid stuff we use as soft power. I also understand that we use some of it for coups, which nobody seems to care about. Do you remember when the Democrats were like, this seems a little weird, right? Like, seems a little weird that we're using some of this stuff for coups and whatnot. Now they're all for it. They're all for the war. And did you see Trump the other day? Most people probably didn't see this. He's like, hey, we need to get together with China and Russia, and we need to put all these nuclear weapons away. This is silly. We're spending $1 trillion. They're spending $400 billion. God knows what Russia's spending, and that's their GDP is getting crushed, and they're spending all this money. There's no reason for us to have this stuff. Let's all get together and put this stuff away. And you're like, oh, that's not getting any news. No. And that would cost jobs. If we got rid of the nuclear world and the war stuff, you know how many jobs that would cost? A ton. Would you be upset about that? Well, if there's no more war, no, I don't want people to lose jobs. So you want them to continue to make weapons for a war that's not coming? Everybody wants their cake and eat it too. We can't have it that way. And it's not about whether I think the attitude and a vast majority of the attitudes that is coming are from people who have had it very easy. I got tons of friends in D.C. So before you come at me with wait till you get fired, I have friends in D.C. who make stupid money from the government. And I will tell you, one of them right now is my good friend. You want to know where he is working from home? The Bahamas.
It's a tough job, Chad. Somebody's got to do it.
Good work if you can get it, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's great.
I actually had a boss of mine one time. She was in New York, and I covered southeast part of the country. This was in, like, February. And she called me one time, and I was talking to her, and she's like, what is that noise in the background? So that's the ocean. I'm sitting on the beach making my phone calls.
Nice.
And it was a blizzard in New York, so she just used a curse word and hung up on me.
There you go. I mean, it's we act like and by the way, all of us here will tell you, we work in an industry for the last 30 years that has been completely destroyed and downsized
Because of government.
Because of dollars and cents. We have to run it based on the fact there's profitability and loss, and we have to look at it like that. We've been downsized like you cannot believe. When I was in Europe, man, I tell you what, I'd walk in. Some of the stuff I was amazed at. We had overnight producers with a live show host, and they had like 2 producers. I worked in music radio over there for a while. I had a guy who ran the board. Like, I couldn't do that? No, we don't do that here.
Was it a union rule?
No, they don't have unions
really?
like that. My buddy is one of the biggest. I mean, he's one of the biggest, most powerful people in the talk radio industry. He's been my consultant for years. Some of the people he works with mostly are in Europe. He'll tell you that some of the morning shows he works with, because he works both for talk and like Top 40, they'll have 8, 10 producers for a morning show.
You talking about Howard Stern's show?
Blows Howard away. I mean, in some of the insanity. And you know what? Poor Dan's over here doing himself, just flying in the wind, right? So KGB helping him out a little bit, but I mean, it's this. Welcome to our world. And so when everybody says you'll be sorry when you lose your job, I have a national show that's on about 100 stations. Who do you think's on those stations? Me. Who's not on the stations? Other people. So, you know, before everybody freaks out, if any of us got fired, nobody's going to feel sad for us for an hour or so, and then we'll be on with our lives. It's just government's upset for government because government got found out. That's it. Hey, when's the snow come, Ken?
Well, Brother Chad, models are showing the first flakes should start falling in West Middle Tennessee, places like Clarksville, around 5 o'clock this afternoon. Ooh. Nashville by 8 or after.
Are we looking like we're going to really get hit?
It's still, up to 4 inches in places. Most of the accumulation still set to be north of I-40. Smaller amounts south of I-40, but, with snow, just depends on where it lands.
Yeah.
It's all enough for people to freak out over.
Well, and we all know this. The minute a little bit of it comes down, the roads get a little icy, people get stupid, and they think they could drive the same way they always have driven, and then they crash, and then it just becomes ridiculous. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be cold AF, as the kids would say, tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the thing, man, is, the last winter storm in last month, it warmed up, relatively quickly. Like the next day, we were above freezing.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the case here. We're going to be down in the teens at night the rest of the week.
Oh, going to be cold. Oh, to get ready for it, kids. The cold is a-coming. So we expect the snow through the evening into the overnight and a little bit tomorrow, or no?
Yeah, through about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay, cool. I'm assuming most schools have probably already canceled.
Yeah, they're getting ready. If they haven't already, they'll start sending out those alerts to parents.
My mom would send me to school. She's like, why are you back? I'm like, well, they closed school, Mom, but you knew that. So you sent me anyways. Would you think somebody's going to be there? Like, oh, I'll just teach you, Chad. This is why I'm in a ditch later on in life.
Go get some extra credit, son.
Coming up. Oh, we got some good stuff. Not just all about the Doge. We got a great shark story that's phenomenal. And Doug's winter party was a party, baby.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk a little bit about that as well. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Yeah, the snow expected to start falling in West Middle Tennessee, places like Clarksville around 5 o'clock today, Nashville around 8. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Governor Bill Lee and other state leaders touring flood-damaged areas of the state to assess need. Lee says FEMA has already reached out.
They have reached out twice to us and said, what do you need? How are things going? Kind of touching base to make sure it's working well. That is where it stands right now. We're obviously still in the phases of understanding the depth of damages across the state in multiple places, but they basically just been offering to help.
Yeah, Lee there speaking from Clarksville, Montgomery County, one of the hard-hit areas. Also, Obion County, about 2 hours north of Memphis in West Tennessee. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says flooding is to blame for 14 deaths now in the Bluegrass State. Nearly 250 people rescued by helicopter yesterday in Marion County alone. Southern and eastern parts of Kentucky getting the most damage, but Carrie Guy in Louisville says it's pretty bad there.
It looks like we're going to be probably displaced for about 10 days before we get back in, before the water level drops enough for us to get back into the houses.
U.S. and Russian officials sitting face-to-face for talks on ending the war in Ukraine.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says at the top of the agenda for these conversations between the U.S. and Russia is restoring diplomatic missions in Washington and Moscow.
We haven't really had much engagement with the Russians for almost 3 years, and it sets the table for future conversations. How that turns out will be up to the parties and their willingness not just to make commitments, but to live by them.
Rubio said the U.S. and Russia would each appoint a high-level team to negotiate and work through the end of the war in Ukraine in what he says is a way that's enduring and acceptable to all parties.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Sorry about that. I was texting my son, who never texts me. He always say, Dad, I'm going to call you later. And by later, you mean next week when I need money.
Did he just check somebody through the glass?
Oh, so they lost yesterday in the final. So he's 3 finals in a row. He's lost. This one 4-3. They scored, and the buzzer went off after the guy had shot. I mean, as the guy shot, the buzzer was going off, and he was super bummed.
Wow.
Their best player, though, his mom's like, yeah, their best player, their parents, I thought were going to go after Jack because he laid their best player out not once, not twice, but 3 times on his last shift.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Way to go, Jack.
Yeah. My son can hit. And you know what's great, too, is he's not one of those guys so he plays hockey, plays for the Oilers out in Southern California. He loves to get hit. He loves so this year he was a freshman. He played in the varsity, and he liked the fact that the 17, 18-year-olds crushed him. He thinks it's awesome.
Yeah.
Because he's like 6 foot already and like 200 pounds. He's built like a house. But he enjoys it.
Right.
So
well, he could probably give as good as he gets, right?
Oh, that's the whole thing. And it's one of those things where, when I played soccer, there was always guys like, look, dude, we used to play against this guy named Paul Oldham, who was incredible. We're like, don't kick Paul, because when you kick him, you wake him up, and then he gets mad and he wants to play. If you just kind of let him do something and not really wake him up, he's fine. He's fine. And, that's Jack. He'll mosey around the ice. He's skating on the ice. Then you hit him, and he's like, argh, and then he's out of the game. So I showed Belle. If you guys have not seen the plane wreck, was that crazy?
Unbelievable.
Wow,
and what's even more astonishing is that there was nobody killed. For that plane to hit the ground like that, explode, and then lose the wings, it's unbelievable nobody's dead.
Yeah, it is. It was crazy. Nobody is dead, but people are talking. And the other thing I was telling Belle, I said, Belle, look, people are climbing out of the fuselage as it's on fire, but don't worry, they're filming. Everybody's filming it, which was crazy.
Like and subscribe for similar content.
There was no warning. We were coming in for our landing, and when the plane came in, we hit the runway really hard, and extremely hard, and we kind of popped up, and it felt like we were leaning to the left.
Yeah, and it looked like when you see, and you've saw it too, right, Ken? You've seen it now.
Oh, yes.
The 2 dudes just sitting in their truck.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa. Oh, no, hey. F&A, That's crazy. So, and they're just sitting in their truck like they're the guys that probably sweep out places, and they drive around on the, out there on the tarmac.
Yeah.
And they're just filming. And that thing, first of all, I saw no runway. I just saw them landing on what seemed to be giant ice.
Looked like, yeah.
But they didn't come down like they just they got about 10 feet to the ground, and it just looked like it fell.
Just boom.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then, of course, people are getting out and just like, oh, yeah, I got to film this.
And both engines look like they exploded, and nobody was killed.
Yeah, nobody was killed.
Unbelievable.
That's because those wings flew off, which has all the fuel in it.
Yes.
And that's the thing that matters.
It was just incredibly fast. There was a giant firewall down the side. I could actually feel the heat through the glass. And then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we tumbled, but we ended upside down. I was hanging there in my seatbelt upside down.
Yeah, everybody said they felt like a bat. Like, how would you know what a bat feels like?
Everybody was quiet for a moment or two, and then everybody was trying to scramble to make a sense of what just had happened. And so we released the seatbelts that kind of fell to the floor, which is now the ceiling.
It's just, it was the fact that nobody's dead, though. Even from not the thing catching and blowing up, because that didn't happen, thank God for that. But just from the tumble, it shows you that as weak as some of these things are, they're also built in a way. And that's an old plane. That's not something that's brand new, which was crazy. But it was, man, I tell you what, some of the people said, look, on the way down, you could feel the wind moving this thing left and right, and they were all over the place. But they got to the ground, and I don't know what happened when they hit. Did it snap off?
Yeah, that's what they're saying, that the landing gear, the back landing gear just blew apart.
Oh, good God.
This is similar. My kids and I were flying into Salt Lake City. This has been a long time ago.
Always a place that's crazy. It's the wind.
Yeah, because the wind, and you're right up against the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same way with Denver. And, of course, we're coming in. The plane is kind of, it's doing that where the wings are kind of going like a seesaw. Then it levels out. It looked like we were going to have a smooth landing, and I mean, we just boom.
And it's like you feel like you're coming down, and then you feel the plane kind of go over to the left or the right. You ever seen some of those things?
Oh,
the
yes.
plane's woo, and it's nuts.
It is nuts. I mean, everything, all the overheads popped open, things came out, and then we just got right back on it and flew on into Denver.
Somebody said it feels like another alternative failure. The center fuel tank didn't burn, and a lot of people out there are, like asking, well, why didn't something blow up? Why didn't I? Because I think they said that first of all, it was at the end of their flight. And I don't know if you know how they work here, but they kind of give you enough to make it to where you're going. You're going 300 miles. How much fuel do we have? 308 miles. So don't go anywhere else. And so that was also probably good. At the beginning of this may have been worse if they had a ton of fuel. But the fact that their wings snapped off, which was crazy. If you watch those shows, you ever watch any of those like shows where the planes crash and Bill Ratner, that great voice guy that does it, like 5986 crashed and they go through it all. It's on the Smithsonian. We were talking about with Matt the other day. They take some of those parts and put them in other planes. Because there was a famous one that had that supposedly the parts were on these planes and they were haunting the planes.
Yeah, the Ghost of Flight 401.
Yeah.
Ernie Borgnine played in it.
Yeah. See, I
freaking love that movie.
I don't know if we need that.
No.
I don't know.
You're on a first name basis with him?
Well, I mean, if I went up to go to the bathroom and Ernie Borgnine is standing back there, I'm going up front. We got to land this plane right now.
now.
Ernie
Land the plane
Borgnine's
now.
here.
But it's weird that they put stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
In other things. I just find that odd. Because, it didn't work the first time, so what's to make it think it's going to work this time?
Yeah.
So I like doing this. Somebody said, Chad, we love your animal stories. And kids, I only talk about stuff like this because nature's awesome. And as we all know, it will mess you up. So you must be careful. Nature will mess you up. Because it will. Absolutely it will. And we have arguably the greatest of all nature will mess you up. So when you go out into nature, what's the one thing we always tell you don't do? Don't pet the animals. Don't pet them. They don't want to be. If you're at a petting zoo, pet the animals. It's in the name, petting zoo. But if you're in nature, and we see it every year, an idiot goes and pets a bison, wants to touch an elk. They don't realize how big an elk is until they see the elk, right? Or maybe there's, other animals out there, they want to go look at an ostrich or any of this, the hippo, whatever it is.
Yeah, an ostrich, they've been known to stomp people.
Yes, absolutely. This lady, though, she takes stupid to a level that is second to none, ladies and gentlemen. Our Canadian brethren.
In a shocking incident that has left many in disbelief, a Canadian tourist, identified locally as 55-year-old Natalie Ross, lost both her hands in a brutal shark attack while vacationing in the Turks and Caicos Islands at Thompson's Cove Beach, a popular spot for tourists seeking sun and surf. Eyewitnesses report that Ms. Ross was attempting to engage with the shark for a photograph when the unthinkable happened.
She was trying to get the shark, a 6 to 7 foot, I think, bull shark, the animal with the most testosterone on the planet, to take a picture with her.
Oh, goodness.
She was trying to get an animal in the wild that is notorious and far more dangerous than a great white shark. We're lucky they're not 15 feet long.
Yeah.
We're lucky that. And she was trying to take a selfie with it and to get it to the point where they could... And it bit her arms, like from just above her wrist, bit them, gone, and then bit her in the butt.
Wow.
Idiot.
Local authorities stated that her husband bravely tried to fight off the 6-foot predator as it attacked, but the damage had already been done. Distressing images from the scene show Ms. Ross lying on the beach, surrounded by her family and other beachgoers who were desperately trying to stop the bleeding from her catastrophic injuries. Reports indicate that she lost both hands and suffered a severe bite to her thigh. After the attack, she was airlifted to a nearby hospital and is expected to survive despite her life-altering injuries.
And embarrassment. Wow. Like, look, you go in the ocean, you accept the fact that there's things out there that may bite you, right? It could be something, jellyfish may sting you. You may get stung by anything that's out there. A conefish, for God's sake. But you wanted to take a picture with, and it wasn't a tiny shark that washed up, because you see that too, right? A little shark will wash up and everyone's taking pictures. Quick, get me it for Instagram. It's going to be great. And it wasn't that. You're in the water, and for good measure, it bit your ass on the way out. The shark's name's Todd or something. Roger. Todd, did you bite that? Oh, yeah, I totally bit her hands off. Ate him, too, and bit her butt.
I was going to go back for seconds, but they drug her out of the water.
Oh, she was all, got no hands. I'm like, whatever. This is what you get. I don't like pictures. What do you think's going through somebody? All joking. What's going through somebody's mind?
Yeah.
Nothing good.
It's like the people who fall to their deaths because they go beyond the sign that says, do not go beyond this point.
Yes. Like some people, you go like that lady we were talking about last week, the woman that's the young girl that's out there in Australia, and she recognizes, obviously, it's Australia, there's sharks everywhere, and as Belle says, the minute you get off the plane, everything there's trying to kill you. But she wasn't trying to take a picture with a 15-foot great white shark.
Right.
She was enjoying the beach, and that's also part of her job because she was a lifeguard, and that's what happened. This lady chose to do. This is the person who thinks, well, this shark knows I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Right?
We're buddies. We're pals. I'm
knows
friends
I'm a
with
vegan.
the shark. Yeah, of course.
And the fact that you wanted to maneuver and kind of get a shot with it is doubly stupid. And that's why I don't feel bad. When you go pet a bison, it's just Darwin saying, here's your award. Good luck.
Yeah, they do not like people.
No, they don't. They don't like people at all. Bears don't like people.
And they're more than happy to delete you from the gene pool.
This lady, and I was watching people, some other people talk about it, we feel sorry for her. And I'm like, I don't. It's like that dude who went to the Treadwell or whoever the hell it was that went up there.
Oh, yeah, Timothy Treadwell.
Yeah, it's like nobody felt sorry for him. They just felt sorry that the girl got eaten.
Yeah.
His girlfriend. Nobody felt sorry for him. You're hanging out with giant bears.
Hungry ones.
Yes. In an area where they run out of food at a certain time of year and awaken to snacks. And you were them. I don't feel sorry. You're not going down to this isn't Africa where you've got to go wash your clothes in a place where there's crocodiles everywhere. You're on Turks and Caicos taking a picture with a shark that is arguably the worst of all of them, and then you lose your hands. Nobody feels sorry for you. You should get her some hooks. You're being mean. Being honest. Don't pet the animals unless you're at a petting zoo. That's all I'm saying. Don't even pet somebody's dog unless they tell you it's okay to pet somebody's dog.
Exactly. And even then, you might want to be careful.
Mike Rowe got bit by a dog yesterday, just out walking his.
See?
French bulldog bit him.
Oh, French.
Right
You can't
in the thigh.
trust the French.
No, never.
You could never.
It's amazing. It's amazing that French bulldogs are willing to fight, though.
They are very much willing to fight. We will fight for anything, Belle, if that's our real name. Coming up, more stuff. If it's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens. It's great for your dog that you shouldn't pet unless it's your dog. But right now, Rough Greens doing something for you. It's a 90-day challenge, ladies and gentlemen. So you're saying to yourself, what's Rough Greens? Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all of this incredible stuff packed into an amazing supplement that you give your dog. And they have Meow Greens for your cats, but this is the 90-day challenge for your dog. First 30 days, what you're going to notice, shiny coat, increased energy, boom. After 60 days, you're going to be like, well, wait a minute here. Immune system seems to be strong, less shedding, improved joint function. Yes. Why? Live nutrients inside of their food. And by day 90, better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health. You might even reduce their cancer risk. And on top of that, guess what? With all that happiness and goodness, maybe no more vet bills, which is always awesome. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens for free today. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. It's a $20 value. RUFFgreens.com. Use code Chad. Roughgreens.com. Use code Chad.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hear from Governor Lee and other state leaders assessing flood-damaged areas of the state, and an update on the investigation from what happened to that plane in Toronto yesterday. And an FBI killer has been released from prison. We'll tell you about it at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting. Was it an accident that he was released, or is this something pre-planned?
It was something from the outgoing president.
Oh, it's one of those things.
Yeah. I know who he's talking about, but I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. But, okay, because you never know, because they've been just like, oh, we let that guy go. We didn't know we were supposed to keep him. You never know. Me don't. Oh, my goodness me. Several of you have chimed in. Some of you not happy with the way that we were laughing at that.
That woman?
No, I'm sorry. You know, a lot of people, though, are saying the same thing. Play a stupid game, win a stupid prize.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it happens every summer in Yellowstone.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Every summer.
Look, and in this specific instance, there was a PSA created back in 1975 or 6.
Yeah, called Jaws.
It was called Jaws. And if you don't understand why you should pay attention to that movie, then you're sort of going to end up in one of these situations.
You guys have no, like, for those of you who are old enough to understand Jaws, the effect it had on human beings. First of all, the effect it had on sharks. They culled thousands upon thousands of great white sharks throughout the world because they all thought they were evil. Then every little kid in the world was terrified to swim in their own damn pool. Because we knew there wasn't a shark, but we couldn't be sure. Like, it's possible. We were all a little spooked, right? We're coming to get you. Like, oh, my God, I wouldn't end up like that. But I also knew, somebody said, well, what about all the cartoons as a kid growing up? Yeah, sorry, was it Jabberwocky the shark or whatever it was? I knew not to touch a shark.
Yeah, Jabberwocky.
Yeah. I knew not to touch the shark.
Absolutely.
The only place I could ever touch a shark when I was a kid is SeaWorld had like the little petting things where they'd have the leopard sharks come by and you could touch them or whatever.
It's in the same tank with the stingrays.
But let's not forget what killed the crocodile hunter.
Stingray.
Mm-hmm.
Stingray.
Right in the heart.
Yeah. What killed it? Stingray.
I hated that day. I hated that day.
Oh, it was a horrible day. It was a horrible, horrible day. You know what was horrible? The next day when Norm Macdonald went on with Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
Did you ever see it?
No.
He's like, did you hear about the crocodile hunter?
Oh, no.
And he's all, don't do it. He goes, yeah. And he just goes on this thing, and he's trying not to laugh because it's just, what killed him? One of those fruity fish.
Brutal.
It's just, but he recognized, by the way, the crocodile hunter knew, look, this is the game I'm in. Right? This is it. There's a chance.
Yeah, he understood it fully.
He lived his life to the full. One of my favorite guys was a South African guy who died a few months ago, who was bit by one of his venomous, reptiles that he has. I think it was a mamba a black mamba. The black mamba bit him. But he was awesome to watch. That being said, these people know what they're doing, and they risk it, and we like it, but this is their job. You were trying to take a picture with a wild animal, and I can guarantee you some idiot's going to get bit on land because one's going to wash up on shore, and they're going to take a picture of it, and it's going to bite them because they're going to think it's funny for the gram, and some idiot, like Ken said, is going to be in Yellowstone and want to pet the bison. And the bison's going to put him through a tree. And then we're going to be like, we should feel sorry. We're going to do a GoFundMe. Yeah, no. Coming up. Next hour, a lot of stuff to get to. Some Ukraine and Luigi Mangione. Speaking of insane, talk about that. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like the first snowflakes could start falling in west middle Tennessee. Places like Clarksville around 5 o'clock this afternoon. In Nashville by 8. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, Governor Bill Lee and other state leaders touring flood-damaged areas of the state, but say it's too early to determine how to start helping with the recovery just yet.
It's difficult at this point in a flood or a disaster or an event to be able to say to a particular homeowner or a group of owners, here's what we have. Here's the answers we have for you. We don't have answers yet.
Lee says FEMA has already reached out to him twice. Obion County still trying to get to people stranded in their homes, and Clarksville still has dozens of roads covered by water. Officials in Kentucky now confirming the death toll is up to 14 from the terrible flood across the state there. At a press conference last night, Governor Andy Beshear said many of the deaths are due to attempts to drive through water. He thanked President Trump for approving the state's request for an emergency disaster declaration, saying the approval came as quickly as we have ever seen a president sign off on our request. An investigation underway into the plane crash in Toronto yesterday. Toronto Pearson Airport CEO Deborah Flint.
Members of the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration are also here on site participating in the investigation. As it is a Mitsubishi aircraft, Mitsubishi will be here on site as well. And Delta Airlines has sent their GO team who are already here on site. 19
passengers have left the hospital. 2 remain with non-life-threatening injuries. And as pink slips have rained down on the aviation industry in the past decade, one passenger carrier that has never resorted to mass layoffs is now doing just that. Here's Jim Ryan in Dallas, the home of Southwest Airlines.
The email went out Monday to corporate staff all the way up to vice president level.
They were ordered to leave headquarters at 6 p.m.
Aviation analyst Steve Cosgrove says 1,750 workers will learn today whether their jobs at Southwest Airlines are safe. Cosgrove calls it historic.
50 years, they've never laid off. And now they're like every other airline.
The layoffs target 15% of employees at headquarters.
A Native American activist whose life sentence was controversially commuted by then-President Biden is out of prison.
Leonard Peltier was sentenced to life in prison for killing 2 FBI agents in 1975. He's maintained his innocence from the beginning. Fellow activists said he was a wrongly convicted political prisoner. On his final day in office, President Biden commuted the 80-year-old sentence to home confinement. That led to outrage from many, including the FBI director at the time, who called Peltier a remorseless killer. Peltier left his Florida prison. He'll return to the Turtle Mountain Band Reservation in North Dakota.
That's Brian Clark reporting. And the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Could the war in Ukraine be coming to an end? It's a possibility. And everybody's upset. Zelensky wasn't at the meetings. He wasn't allowed to go. Wasn't that? It's a negotiation. Everything's negotiation. And you're starting with the bigger fish first. And it wasn't like Trump was there with Putin. They had a phone call. What's it mean? Don't trust him. I don't know. It was always going to end the same way. If he didn't overrun the country, which he probably would have without the help of everybody, and the sacrifice of his own people. Look, I'm not a fan of Putin. Do I understand why he did what he did? I think we can all, if we're honest with ourselves, we didn't like the fact that the Soviets wanted to put stuff in Cuba. Why should they be happy that they want to put stuff in Ukraine? If this has taught anybody anything, don't give up your nuclear weapons. Because remember, Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons, and alas, here they are. But you've got to have a place to go with. And Europe has been playing this silly game for far too long. And there needs to be a push from them. And I saw Keir Starmer, who is the Prime Minister of Britain today, saying he would even think about sending soldiers there. Well, you better ask your people how they would feel about that. Okay? Because
they're busy going to court for memes.
Yeah. So we're going to send our rough and tumble meme fighters over there. But let me tell you something. The Ukrainians, those people have fought their butts off. There's places that no longer exist, but yet they're on a map. Outside of Kyiv and a few other places, it is nasty and beat and not much too dissimilar to what you see in Gaza. That being said, it's time to end it. And once this was always going to be somewhat of a stalemate, let's get to it.
Well, the comment I would have on that is that for 3.5 years while this conflict has raged, or 3 years while it's raged, no one else has been able to bring something together like what we saw today, because Donald Trump is the only leader in the world that can. So no one is being sidelined here. But President Trump is in a position that he campaigned on to initiate a process that could bring about an end to this conflict. And from that could emerge some very positive things for the United States, for Europe, for Ukraine, for the world. But first it begins by the end of this conflict. And so the only thing President Trump's trying to do is bring about peace. It's what he campaigned on. It's something the world should be thanking President Trump for doing. He's been able to achieve what for 2.5, 3 years, no one else has been able to achieve, which is to begin this process, a serious process. Obviously, a lot of work remains before we have a result. But President Trump's the only one that can do it.
And what do you have to do? You have to make sure that both of these leaders feel like they've got something. Zelensky, you stood up to them. You went toe-to-toe. You didn't leave. Remember, the first weekend, the attack was on. What did Biden tell him? You need to get out of there. But he stood there. He played his part. He did everything he could. He leveraged the love of the world against the evil Putin, and his people sacrificed, and they died. And you know what? You guys are still standing. You're still a nation. For Putin, you got the West to say, all right, we're not going to encroach anymore. You're going to get some assurances, and you're going to get some land. How much land? And you're going to get the thing that's most important, which is that port. You want a warm weather port for your ships. But you've also depleted, in particular, a vast majority of young men in your country. You've had a brain drain from a lot of the other ones who ran away and don't want to come back. So you've lost a lot here on top of everything else. But like Sun Tzu says, don't circle them. You got to give them an off-ramp.
They lost a lot of political capital, too, because their army does not look as dangerous as they wanted it to by any stretch.
God, no. There's nobody. The reason now that the Europeans feel like they can talk a little tougher, they're not worried. But what you should be worried about, the fact that they have nuclear weapons. But so does the French and the Brits and everybody else. But, that's mutually assured destruction, but nobody wants to go down that path. But nobody's terrified of their massive army. And their army, while it's battle-hardened, what's left of it, it's depleted. Those young men, they're not coming back. And it's time to move on. It's cost not only, because we can sit here and talk money, but think about all the lives that are lost. Think about all those people that are maimed, that are never going to come back in any way, shape, or form to what they were, even if they survived this. Think about the chaos that has been unleashed. Think about all those kids that have been kidnapped and are currently in Russia. That's how they're trying to replenish their society. There's a lot that has happened here that is insane. But it's time for it to end. It is time for it to end, and you've given them an off-ramp, which is the thing that's most important. You've got to give him an off-ramp that makes him feel like he can go back to his people and say, look at what I did. I stopped the West from encroaching any more on us. We've got a buffer between us. They've made assurances, blah, 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 blah. The media here be like, he gave Putin everything he wanted. What is up with this new bizarre Democratic Party that seems to want war? It's bizarre. They used to be like peace and love and all that kind of stuff, and war's bad. And now they're like, we can't let Putin get away with it. Well, he got away with it the minute he went in 12 years ago and snatched Crimea, and nobody cared. So when he got away with it, and alas, here we are.
Well, I would start by saying we've agreed on 4 principles that I think are important. The first is that we're going to appoint our teams respectively to work very quickly to reestablish the functionality of our respective missions in Washington and in Moscow. For us to be able to continue to move down this road, we need to have diplomatic facilities that are operating and functioning normally. The second point is that we're going to appoint a high-level team from our end to help negotiate and work through the end of the conflict in Ukraine in a way that's enduring and acceptable to all the parties engaged.
And Witkoff is going to be there, and that's the guy that has helped negotiate the stuff that's gone on in Gaza with the, who knows what that's going to end up looking like, that bizarre peace deal, as well as what took place in Venezuela and several other places. He's been to high-level negotiations, and it's what he does. He negotiates. He's very personable, but when he gets there, it's all about negotiation. And I think they'll get something done. And yes, Zelensky's he's gonna throw a fit. He's gonna be pissed. He's gonna be angry. He's gonna feel like he's being left out of it. We can't let them take all of our stuff away. Dude, you've lost that opportunity. And you allowed the Europeans at times to talk you into things that you shouldn't have been talked into. Should have took opportunities to have peace. And I know you want your land back, but it ain't coming back. That isn't going to happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not for a long time. Probably not while all of you or us are alive at this point in time. It just isn't going to happen. So it's time to find out where your off-ramp is. And we do need to give them assurances. And you know what? I like the fact that we're looking over there to Europe going, hey, guys, this is your backyard. Like Canada's getting a little jumpy over here. We're not going to ask you to jump in. We'll handle it ourselves. Right? Mexico, they get a little jumpy. The cartels, because they keep saying they want to see what our guys can do. I don't think you really want to see what our guys can do. By the way, our guy comes as a reaper. He does not come as a singular individual like Rambo. He comes as a reaper, quiet in the night, and unleashes hell on you. And while I know that, for those of you guys don't know, there are many cartel members who are Los Zetas. And that is another cartel that were trained to be special forces and were special forces. Then eventually the money got too good, so they decided, hey, we're going to protect these people. And then they said, screw it, we're just going to be our own cartel. So that's kind of scary indeed. So I think this is a good thing. It's not the media here. I can already tell you. Let me give you the headlines here. I'm going to Chatterdamus. Here it comes. Trump gives everything to Putin he's ever dreamed of. Once again, he is Putin's puppet. That's where I'm going with that one. What do you guys think?
Pretty much spot on.
All right. That's what I thought. Spot on. That's where I think we're headed on this. Meanwhile, this is spectacular. Whoopi Goldberg earlier talking about the airplane crash. You guys remember that yesterday? Totally crazy.
I have been panicking over all this insanity with these planes. Yeah. And there's all kinds of stuff going on. So let's start with the string of mass firings by Elon Musk's Doge, has sparked a lot of chaos, confusion, and fear because Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is defending the firing of 400 FAA workers. But former Secretary Pete Buttigieg slammed the firings of employees who control communications, radio, computer systems, all given all the confusion. So is this really the time to be laying off folks? And who is exactly getting laid off?
Well, they're seeming to be laying off probationary workers. When you work for the Department of Justice or work for the government, sometimes you have a 2-year probationary period. Sometimes you have a 1 year or 3 year. So these are people that are in their probationary periods and they're not protected yet. And so they're just kind of getting rid of them willy-nilly.
Just willy-nilly. Okay, so who was laid off, right? Because that's the way that some people freaking out yesterday were like, they are laying off air traffic. They're not laying off air traffic controllers. Just let you guys know that. The people were probationary, safety officials, TSA officers, and a few short-term targeted folks were laid off. Maintenance mechanics, aeronautical information specialists, aviation safety assistants, and management assistants. They make it seem like we were just like they're just throwing people out. Well, what about some of these people? Look, how many of them do we have and do we need? One of the things that isn't being talked about, that needs to be talked about more, is so many of these people were duplicates to other people that were already working. So many of them, and I fly, and I don't want planes falling out of the sky because I'm on a plane. I don't want to fall out of the sky. I want to be safe as possible. Like, we all recognize that. That being said, out of all of this 400 people, they act as if it's, well, you know, Elon fired these people, so the plane fell out of the sky. Like, you can't make this up. You can't. You have to. I live in the world of reality, and the world of reality looks like this. We're doing some cuts. A lot of it's just reaction to, you know, ridiculous stuff, and plenty of ridiculous stuff out there. But most of it is, it's on the edges, things that you can cut, right? Stuff that you could get people to retire early, things, probationary people. How long this stuff sticks, that's going to be the court's decision in a few months. And some, it might be a year. Today we got that. Was it today? One of Biden's student loan, one of his big student loan things got shot down today, finally. But how long did that take to get through the courts? It took forever and a day. So some of these things, it's going to take a while. But to say that things are falling out of the air because they're firing people now or letting people go, what they're doing is they're just saying, look, the probationary period, we're not going to hire on. That we're just going to keep that position obsolete, which has happened before. And we'll talk a little bit about that. There was a guy named Al Gore. Now, I don't know if you guys know who he is. He invented the internet. It was just pretty cool. Yeah, it's the Man Bear Pig. He fought Man Bear Pig. So, if you guys haven't seen on South Park, Al Gore comes and he's fighting Man Bear Pig, which is
trying to warn everybody. Take him cereal.
Take him cereal. But in 1993, a guy named Bill gave Al, he said, Al, when your weird wife is not trying to ruin rock and roll music, could you do something for me? So we're going to talk about what he did. Because lo and behold, stuff happened then, which people didn't realize. And something similar to this. We'll talk about that. A bunch of other things still to get to today on this big day, including Mangione. Not Chuck. Phenomenal. Love Chuck. Chuck was great. We love Chuck.
Great song.
Great. Has there ever been is that it? Like, that we can remember?
It's the only one I can remember offhand. I know there were others.
Only trumpeter, though, to lead the way right there that I can remember. So,
Herb Alpert.
Herb Alpert. That's
Herb
right.
Alpert, yes.
There you go. But not as great as Herb was, Chuck was. That's the one that everybody remembers. So we'll talk about, though, what Luigi Mangione's got going on that includes fans, I'm not lying to you, and money. We'll talk about that, a bunch of other stuff straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Field of Greens, if you're like me. Getting greens, not always top of mind. I can be honest with you guys. Sometimes I choose a hamburger over a salad. But with Fields of Greens, you don't have to worry about that. So what is Fields of Greens? We're talking about the best when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to fruits and vegetables, getting all of that in one delicious glass every single day. That includes the best stuff the doctors have picked specifically to help you with your heart, which is awesome, your kidney functions, your lungs, metabolism, even your weight management. And just in case maybe you have a hamburger over a salad one day, you don't have to worry about that because Fields of Greens will help you make it up, and you do not have to freak out about it. It's getting all of your fruits and vegetables in one drink every single day because, come on, guys, that's not our thing. We know that. You know that. Right now, Field of Greens is making you a promise. All right? This is something. your doctor will notice your improved health or you're going to get your money back. That's how sure they are about this. So let me get you started. 20% off your first order. Just use code Benson at fieldofgreens.com. That's 20% off your first order of Fields of Green. 1 glass a day. It's all the fruits and vegetables you need. It can help with your energy and everything else. Fields of Greens. Go to fieldsofgreens.com. That's fieldofgreens.com. Use code Benson to get 20% off. Busy Bee plumbing. You guys ready for that? Hey, you see what's going on out there? Weather, nasty. Things could get crazy. What about your HVAC? Is that ready to roll? Well, if you're a part of the Beehive Club, and it is famous indeed, let me tell you what can happen. Say things go south and you're like, oh my God, I really need you would be waiting in line. Not with Busy Bee. Not with your Beehive Club. You're right there. How about this? Maybe your plumbing goes, oh, leak everywhere. Oh God. Call Busy Bee Plumbing. And if you're part of the Beehive Club, boom, baby, to the front of the line you go. They've got tons of deals on all kinds of stuff, from air duct cleaning to, whether you're getting your main line looked at or whether you've got issues with your pipes around. They're going to get you handled, including tankless conversions, a bunch of other stuff. But right now, join the Beehive Club. You will absolutely love it, and it'll pay off and then some. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Cooling for any of your needs, 775-7833, 775-7833, or visit them at busybehvac.com.
Governor Lee and TEMA Director Patrick Sheehan are touring flood-damaged areas of the state. We'll tell you what they have to say initially. The death toll keeps climbing from the flooding in Kentucky, and we've got more on the investigation of yesterday's plane crash in Toronto. That's coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Our good buddy and yours, Kevin O'Leary. You guys might recognize him. Shark Tank. Mr. Nice Guy, the watch guy. I like him. I love him because he's a big watch guy. I'm a watch guy as well. Talking, he's been on CNN the last couple of days arguing with them over all kinds of stuff. And they're like, should we slow down on the cutting? Should we do this? What should we do? He's got a different approach to cutting because he comes from the private sector. Public sector, private sector, totally different.
I think the issue is they're not whacking enough. There's this concept in private equity when you get a bankrupt company and you go in there, you cut 20% more than your initial read. And then you find, like a pool of mercury, the organization gels back together again. Always cut deeper, harder when there's fat and waste. The FAA, it's not the people. The code is cobalt. It's from the 60s. It needs CapEx put into it for the technology to be upgraded to make it safer. Fat, like a chicken. All of these agencies are like big fat chickens dripping over barbecues of fat. This is the best barbecue I've ever seen, but I don't think it's happening fast enough. They're not cutting enough. Keep slashing, keep hacking while you have a 24-month mandate before the midterms. Cut, more cutting. Believe me, it's going to work out just great.
And here's something for you guys. One of my past lives when I was doing voiceovers and stuff and coming up, and, I raised private equity and I worked in the commodity industry and stuff. And we raised money for a company that has done very well for themselves. What they used to do, they were all engineers for the plane world. And this was like 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. One of the things they would talk about is the fact that how antiquated the systems were. So as planes were becoming more and more advanced, none of the systems were becoming advanced they're working with. I mean, when you look at even the radars and stuff that they use for the air traffic control and stuff, it is what it could be compared to what it is two separate things. And the other thing is, so this was, we were raising money for them because they put together a company that was going to save the plane company huge money. Every time that a plane goes in for service, so they got to go in for service. Those planes are meant to be flown. They tell us all the time. Planes are meant to be flown. This is why they can't be on the ground. It's not good for them, but it also loses money. It can lose $1 million a day, some of those big, giant planes, because most of that money that they make is underneath with the shipping and the packaging and all that stuff. And this is even before Amazon and stuff took off. And they said every day those things are down, it costs money. Well, the FAA was so back-assward that to do certain things, it was old school fax. I mean, they weren't even at the email side of stuff at times to get things done. And it was frustrating because things that could have gotten done, you're like, oh, this can't get done. We got to go out. We got to do this. We got to sign off. We got to send it to 19 people. And it was antiquated. And planes would get stuck on the ground longer than they should have been because something to get signed off or this, that, and the other. When you've got something like airplanes that are advancing at the rate that they're advancing, and technology, like he said, cobalt, stuck there and not advancing. And this just doesn't include the FAA. This is government across the board. Did you realize how silly that is? I mean, try finding people that could even code some of this stuff. You probably can't. Like, I don't know how it works. It's that antiquated and old. So you've got two different worlds coming together. So while everybody freaks out about Doge, one of the big ways I think over time they're going to save, but not just save money for the government and for the taxpayers, but save time and money for the individual that isn't being counted, which is bringing stuff up to date somewhat. At least bring it to the 2000s. All right, we're not asking you to bring it to today, but how about 2000, 2010? Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about Man, Bear, Pig himself, Al Gore, because in 1993, that's right, Man, Bear, Pig, half man, half bear, half pig, as one person. It's just half man, half bear, half pig. We're going to talk about what he did in 1993, which was rather interesting, because Clinton's like, oh, man, we should totally do something because we got too much government. Talk a bit about that, bunch of other stuff, including Mangione, and many of you have sent us great trumpeters that have been stars that we forgot about. Well, the Tijuana Brass Band, forgot about them.
Well, that was Herb's band.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, Maynard Ferguson, I don't know that one. You guys?
No.
No. So, yeah, a lot of these people. So we'll talk a little bit about that. If you missed the show, grab the podcast. Otherwise, we say, I hope we got it fixed.
.1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Snow on the way. First flakes supposed to start falling in West Middle Tennessee. Places like Clarksville around 5 o'clock today. Nashville by 8 tonight. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Governor Lee and Tennessee Emergency Management Agency Director Patrick Sheehan touring flood-damaged areas of the state to begin assessing need and getting resources, but it is early.
Way too early to know what's available and what's possible.
Lee says FEMA has reached out twice, so they're in contact. Meanwhile, people in Clarksville impacted by flooding asked to go to a website that has been set up to get answers about need. That is cmsresponse.org. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says flooding is to blame for 14 deaths now in the Bluegrass State. Nearly 250 people rescued by helicopter yesterday in Marion County. Southern and eastern parts of Kentucky getting the most damage. More than 300 roads are closed. More than 17,000 Kentuckians have no water. So boil orders are in place. Hundreds are living in state parks across Kentucky. 12 emergency shelters are open. An investigation getting underway into the plane crash in Toronto Monday. Toronto Pearson Airport CEO Deborah Flint says a Canada transportation safety team is on site along with other teams from the U.S.
It's really important to recognize how grateful we are that there was no loss of life or life-threatening injuries in yesterday's accident.
21 passengers were hospitalized. 19 have been released. U.S. and Russian delegation meeting in Saudi Arabia today discussing ending the war in Ukraine. Ukraine and European nations not at this meeting, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says everyone's being consulted.
Sitting down at the table was a significant first step towards peace.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
What about impacts to your back? Our friends over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, have something for you in honor of the 47th president. 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. It's the big 47 offer going on right now. So there are no pills, no spinal creams, none of that stuff. This is how it works, right? Spinal decompression. People go, well, how does this work? So there's a machine. It helps heal the disc by opening the disc like that so blood and nutrients can flow and get to the area that needs to be healed. And it is incredible. So when you go there, right? So when you go to the Wellness Institute in Nashville, you're going to see Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley. You're going to be treated like a king or a queen. But the machinery is so top-notch. There's nobody else anywhere close, I say, in the nation at doing what they do. And it is all about getting you healed. It's all about you. Right, so you don't have to worry about any of the wackadoo stuff like, oh, we're going to cut you. No, that's not. If you need to be operated on, they'll tell you that right there. During your consultation, you can get an exam, x-rays included if needed. You can even bring an MRI. Go to the place that's the best. Make sure that this year you go from living in pain to actually being able to do the things you love to do. And you can do that with the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Start your new year off right. Yeah, it's possible to get healthy. Call the Wellness Institute of Nashville today, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or go to painisbad.com. Are you wearing glasses, Bill? I've never seen that before. You look very studious.
I wear my glasses every day.
It's hard, man, because the lights are so bright in here. All I see is shadows and Ken's head. That's it. I can't see you. Every once in a while, you'll kind of move. I can see you.
In fairness, though, it took Matt probably close to 18 months to realize I had a nose ring. So you're in good company.
Yeah, but you don't wear them when we're hanging out like that. I rarely see you with them on. So I didn't know you were that blind, dude. Thought about getting that fixed?
No.
Okay, good. Why? You scared?
No, I did it once. I had LASIK once, and it wore off, and it's like...
That's the old school LASIK, dude. That wasn't real lasers.
Well...
Those were fake. They probably didn't even do anything to you. Probably put a contact on you and say, he'll never notice.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mess when I got LASIK.
Old school. The Doge is, of course, upsetting everybody.
The firings touching more than a dozen agencies, including the Departments of Homeland Security, Veterans Affairs, and the Centers for Disease Control. Victoria says she was laid off from the Forest Service in Montana.
I was devastated. I've built my whole life around this. I mean, I've worked for 10 years to get this job finally.
She says the layoffs have rocked her whole community.
Down with Project 2025. Elon Musk doesn't even know my job exists, right? But we do a lot. I mean, I'm a public servant and I do this job because I love it. So yeah, I'm devastated.
Well, I know it sucks. It does. Because this has never happened before, except let's go back. Let's just go to 1993. We'll get into the Wayback Machine. 1993. Bill's like, we got to figure something out here. And so they do this thing that is very interesting. And it was called the National Performance Review. And they eliminated about 380,000 jobs. Now, a lot of them were kind of like what you saw with the FAA. Probationary people. A lot of people retired. They just never hired on. The goal was to make everything more efficient. And Al Gore took time out from inventing the internet and stopping climate change to do this. Because they recognized government was too big. It was inefficient. And so they put together a bunch of reports on what they could do. And they did it. Now, was it perfect? No. Can we shrink some of the government? I think we can. But it's not even about the efficiency of how many overlapping agencies we have. I mean, as we were talking about earlier, several of you were talking about COBOL. You said, I learned that in 1983. It's like, that's how old some of this stuff is. It's crazy. And that includes state level stuff too. I mean, how many of you guys gone into any of the motor vehicle places and you thought, man, this stuff looks like it's pretty old. That person got one of those old school computers. Yeah, it's just, they're never thinking about moving forward. They're never thinking about adapting at all. They're never thinking about any of those things because government is reactionary. Yes, Ken. And I look at I thought Ken was, see, that's the only head I can see in there. Ken's bobbing around in there.
Ha, I'm busy, man.
So I like that. But government is reactionary. And it's not forward thinking because it's not business. But they want to act like business. And they get upset. I don't want to see people lose their job. But at the same time, those same people are upset. They said earlier, Chad, you're mean because people are losing jobs. No, it's the reaction of a vast majority of people. And like we said earlier today, nobody's saying anything. I haven't heard any of you chime in about those poor people. For Southwest who lost their jobs. I don't hear anybody going, oh, man, I can't believe it. These people lost their jobs. How, no Democrats over there crying because there's no politics in it. It's dollars and cents. Well, government needs to run a little bit more efficiently as a business because it's not just about the dollars and cents of what the government's saving. Think about the time that it can help save you dollars and cents, where you're not having to run around like a chicken with your head cut off, going to 12 different agencies to try to get something signed or to do some of these things. It's ridiculous. It is. So I can feel for people, and at the same time, I can say, all right, you know what? It's time that you come up to at least somewhat modern times, which is hard because in today's world, change is hard. And government's finding that out. And I think cutting is right. And I think the efficiency of modernizing stuff is right. But if we continue to go down this path, and we're still not addressing all of the big things that need to be addressed. Trump talked the other day about cutting military spending by 50%. Kennedy tried to do that, and then he's no longer here. Just to point that out. He's talking about getting rid of nuclear weapons. He's talking about that. How do you think that would fly in places where a lot of these people make weapons, make components for weapons? It's not even about is your business making weapons? What about all of the things that your contractors out there and suppliers supply you with? Right? You know, the little thing here, the button there, all of those things, they come from somewhere. But would you be unhappy if we got rid of 50% of that? Because everybody wants to get rid of stuff, make it more efficient, but nobody wants anybody to lose their job. And that's a tough thing. It is a tough thing. So, alas, here we are. Mangione, not Chuck, Luigi, has fans in a creepy way.
This morning, accused killer Luigi Mangione speaking out from inside a jail cell for the first time. In a message to his supporters on a new website, Mangione, in his own words, writing, "I am overwhelmed by and grateful for everyone who has written me to share their stories and express their support. While it is impossible for me to reply to most letters, please know that I read every one that I receive." His defense team launching the website on behalf of their client to provide accurate information about his cases and dispel misinformation.
So he's got a website that you can go to. He has fans, and he's got lots of girls that like him, but I remember that with, let's see here. How many killers? Richard Ramirez had a ton of them.
Yeah, the Night Stalker.
He had so many. Here comes Bell. Bell probably had.
Richard got married in prison.
He did. He got married in prison. She's a widower now. Who else do you have? You had pretty much every serial killer. Manson had a bunch of groupie loons.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
What's his name? The big one. Oh, God, the guy from Florida.
The guy from Florida.
You know it, Bill.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Bundy had all kinds of ladies.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, he did.
And Peterson. Scott Peterson has tons. And the Menendez brothers, for God's sakes. All of them murderers, all of them had fans. But this is different. This is, girls think he's sexy, but there's a fanfare that goes with this for a lot of people who look at what he did as some sort of amazing thing for the world because he's exposing the evil that is the insurance industry.
It's uncommon to hear from a defendant behind bars like this because most defendants don't generate this level of public interest.
Mangione now bolstering his counsel ahead of his court appearance later this week while awaiting trial at a federal jail in New York City.
Not guilty.
Adding a court-appointed death penalty legal expert to his team after pleading not guilty to several charges, including first-degree murder in the furtherance of terrorism and the federal count of murder using a firearm that could result in capital punishment.
And that's what they're going after there. Because remember, the first thing he faced, he would have only got a max of 25 years. But they're like, this dude was stalking, doing all kinds of stuff. And now there's because murder has become an entertainment industry, you have to have some sort of documentary out.
In the midst of the brewing legal battle, a new investigation discovery documentary, Who is Luigi Mangione, is out today on Max, all about the murder of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, featuring new first-hand accounts about the accused gunman at the center of it all.
He's just like a normal, happy-go-lucky kind of 26-year-old guy. I don't know what would motivate someone like that, to do something like that.
I think indoctrination probably had a huge part of it. I think he went to school. He was told how bad everything was, and he felt guilty about being good-looking, rich. Life was easy, and he was part of the problem, so he thought maybe he's going to become part of the solution.
Ahead of the Ivy League grad's upcoming court appearance, money from supporters is now pouring into his legal fund, reaching nearly $500,000. Some reportedly from healthcare professionals, according to organizers.
One doctor who donated says, quote, "I applaud Luigi for his courage, heart, and passion."
The notoriety and extra resources could come in especially handy for a defense team, say legal experts.
The money he's able to raise is a benefit to the defense in a case that otherwise, to outside observers, appears to be a really difficult one for the defense to win.
Yeah, because I have to be... what is your defense here? Like, we see you on film, we see you stalking him, and there's new cameras angles in this documentary, I guess, where you get a good look at who he is. We've got you with the gun. Like, I have no idea what your defense could be at this moment in time.
All right, so circling back for a second to what we were just talking about, if you're wondering why Mangione was assigned a death penalty attorney in the first place, the federal courts mandate and pay for legal experts called learned counsel to join the defense teams of people charged with capital crimes. And the reality here is that most private criminal defense attorneys in a jurisdiction that does not have the death penalty, like the state of New York, are not going to be death penalty qualified, guys.
So you need somebody who is actually been on a death penalty case because you don't have anybody there. But I just don't know. Like, he pled not guilty. Okay, you pled not guilty. Is the goal to try to exhaust so much stuff so you can have a plea where maybe you get out in 25 years? I'm not trying. I'm not. I'm trying to figure this out because the fact that yes, you pled not guilty. We all get that. It wasn't going to be for insanity, which I thought you would try at some point in time. But then you're everywhere. The pictures, the camera, the cowardice of shooting somebody from behind. Again, I go back to the old Western days. You would have shot Billy Kid from behind and you were a storekeeper. They'd have called you a punk, a coward. They'd have ran you out of town. You don't do that. And you did this to this guy. But he's over $500,000. We need to think about that. That somebody who murdered somebody in cold blood, and whether you like the insurance companies, you think they're evil, that person, he was doing his job. He's an insurance guy. It sucks that we look at human beings as numbers. We can all be frustrated with it, but the fact is he didn't deserve what he got. And now his killer, alleged, is like a heartthrob. And that's just such a weird thing. You know who also got ladies? OJ. OJ got ladies when he got out. OJ was never, like, you went to a club and OJ was there. He was surrounded by people. I mean, they were weirdos, but they were people. Because for whatever reason, people are drawn to the infamy, right? The fame is part of it. I see why some women are drawn to men because you're their entire focus. The letters, all of that stuff. I could see that. And you know where they are. But, man, craziness in this world. And we're sending money to somebody because we think insurance companies are evil and that this guy was just as big a killer as Mangione. Cowardice. Sorry. Don't buy it. I do not buy it. There's better ways to handle things. And it didn't bring any kind of change to the industry. It just made them beef up their security. Coming up, a lot of good stuff because that's what we do here. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 997.
Snow prep, flood assessment, U.S. and Russian officials face-to-face, and Pope Francis has double pneumonia. These stories and more at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Double pneumonia? What is double pneumonia?
Double pneumonia.
Pneumonia in both lungs.
Wow. How old is he? How old is this one?
That's a good
like
question.
83, I think. 80, 83.
Are we going to see it soon?
88.
That's up there.
88.
Right, he's lived past his sell-by date.
Yeah.
Are we going to see this, when they have the black smoke?
Yeah, the black smoke and the white smoke.
That's right. It's going to happen.
I just watched a movie about that with Ray Fiennes in it.
Is that Conclave?
Yeah.
That's the thing that just won all of the BAFTA awards.
It's real good.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's it about? I know,
It's about a particular pope. And I can't I can't remember the exact one, but it's about all the politics
of poping.
Of poping.
Yeah.
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 Very interesting.
It's a lot of politics.
Yeah.
You
John
know,
Lithgow played of course he played the bad pope.
Oh, Ray Fiennes did?
No, John Lithgow did.
Oh, of course he played the bad. Did you see Lithgow's new movie that's coming out with Jeffrey Rush? It's about a you'll love this here, Belle, because you like me. A little like the horror movies. No, horror movies, Belle.
Horror.
Yeah. So
You're so funny.
it's about Lithgow is in a Jeffrey Rush gets put into a nursing home. But it's like one of those independent-ish they've got some people that aren't really, and Lithgow is there, and Lithgow has a puppet that he talks with his hands and terrifies everybody in the place because that puppet rules the place with Lithgow.
What's his name? Mr. Hat?
No, Mr. Hat. Hey,
Mr. Hat.
No, I don't know what it's really weird.
That sounds interesting.
Well, it is he's an interesting character. I want to see Conclave. I heard it was really good, but I wasn't quite sure. I was like, is this another one exposing all the issues? But it's about because there's so much politics.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when they pick a pope, it's you start to understand how the system works where you've got this powerful group over here is pushing for this person.
Mm-hmm.
This person didn't get enough votes, so they're going to throw their weight behind so-and-so because they're going to be promised something, which I find fascinating. Because you would think, isn't it just about God? No, it's about poping.
Y'all got to remember what Snoop Dogg said. Poping ain't easy.
Poping ain't easy. You're right, poping ain't easy.
Speaking of movies with puppets, have you ever seen The Beaver with Mel Gibson?
No,
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
I've heard of it, too.
Didn't Jodie Foster direct that?
Jodie Foster directed it, and Mel Gibson starred in it, and he's got a little beaver as a puppet. And it's very interesting.
What?
Yes.
So the new movie for Lithgow is called The Rule of Jenny Penn.
The Rule of Jenny Penn.
Yeah. And it's about an assisted living facility, and Jeffrey Rush, who's a great actor, is a former judge who encounters a psychopathic patient who uses a hand puppet to abuse all the other residents.
That's how good Lithgow is.
Oh,
man.
he's great.
He can play a good guy. He can play a bad guy. But I think the sinister characters he plays, I think he does the best.
He is great at that, isn't he?
He really is, man. He's got a way of it. He can get real creepy if he needs to.
Remember World According to Garp?
I don't remember that.
That was him and God, what's his name?
I remember the movie. I never
played
saw
a
it.
woman, and it was Mork from Mork and Mindy. I forget his name.
Oh, Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. That's right. I've been up. By the way, for those of you guys, I showed Belle. I haven't slept in 36 plus hours. I didn't go to sleep last night at all. So, and I've already done like 2 shows. So I've been up for a while.
Yeah.
But he plays a trans woman in that, where he used to be the former center of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's such a brilliant actor.
That's interesting.
He's such a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
So-
he is really good.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of movies, so just when you think Hollywood, you're going to come back, right? Like at some point, you're going to get normal. So Cynthia Erivo, who is in Wicked. So you got, what's her name? The young girl, I forget her name.
Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande. I was going to say Selena Gomez. That's not her. Ariana Grande. That's how much I know about the youngsters like that. And Erivo is the other witch. She's going to play Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah, it's a...
Oh, my God.
I don't even know at this point in time, kids. Keep jumping the shark, guys.
Wow.
Keep jumping the shark. Keep petting the shark, because as we heard, that's not the thing you're supposed to do. Coming up next hour, we're talking a little immigration, more on the Doge. Got a bunch of other stuff, some fun stuff, some wacky stuff, some stuff that'll make you care for us. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
2 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And the models show that snow will start falling in West Middle Tennessee, places like Clarksville around 5 o'clock today. It'll be over Nashville by 8. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. TDOT crews out prepping to treat the roads since yesterday morning.
They're going to be plowing roads as soon as we have enough snow to plow. We will also be salting as soon as there is any kind of trouble spots as we see it. But we will have shifts. They will be working 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
TEMA says unless it's absolutely necessary, stay home. Governor Lee and other leaders are touring flood-damaged areas of the state, making a stop this morning in hard-hit Clarksville. Governor Lee praising efforts of local officials and first responders.
The effort here on the ground locally from the mayor, from his team, from the emergency management folks here to coordinate with TEMA as we coordinate with FEMA. And it's something, unfortunately, that we've become accustomed to, but people did their jobs and people were safe, and we're very grateful for that.
Dozens of roads have reopened, but dozens more remain closed in Clarksville. And in Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear says the flooding is now blamed for 14 deaths in the Bluegrass State. Nearly 250 people rescued by helicopter yesterday in Marion County alone. Southern and eastern Kentucky getting the most damage. More than 300 roads are closed. 17,000 Kentuckians have no water. Boil orders in place. Hundreds are living in state parks across the state, and 12 emergency shelters are open. U.S. and Russian officials sitting face-to-face today for talks on ending the war in Ukraine. They've come to an agreement that, yes, they need to work toward ending that conflict.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says at the top of the agenda for these conversations between the U.S. and Russia is restoring diplomatic missions in Washington and Moscow.
We haven't really had much engagement with the Russians for almost 3 years. And it sets the table for future conversations. How that turns out will be up to the parties and their willingness not just to make commitments, but to live by them.
Rubio said the U.S. and Russia would each appoint a high-level team to negotiate and work through the end of the war in Ukraine in what he says is a way that's enduring and acceptable to all parties.
Ask Karen Travers at the White House. An update on the medical condition of Pope Francis, still hospitalized in Rome. Here's ABC News Chief International Correspondent James Longman in Vatican City.
He has had bronchitis. They've told us that. That is an inflammation of the lungs. But now they're saying he has pneumonia, and as if that wasn't enough, it is in both lungs, bilateral pneumonia. They're saying this came about because they did a CT scan, and the medical team then looked at his results and found that it was indeed this infection of the lungs as opposed to just an inflammation of the lungs.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Guess what, kids? Snow expected, as we know. Most people are focusing on what? Stocking up on groceries, salting your driveway, things of that nature. But what you should realize, leave your faucets dripping. When snow melts, it's done. Right or wrong, there could be serious issues, and USS is there to help. United Structural Systems is ready when you need them. Maybe you got cracks in your basement. When the snow melts, the water may end up in your home. What happens? Pipe burst. Oh, goodness me. Then you get mold, wood rot, you name it, structural repair potentially. Don't let that happen to you. USS is there to help. Over 30 years experience in basement and crawl space, waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. USS inspections are absolutely free. They're going to sell you anything unnecessary. They're simply there to help, and they guarantee their best. If you're even worried about anything and you think to yourself, maybe we should have somebody come out, grab this number right now, 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. You know what's coming over the next couple days. Get yourself prepared with USS, 615-488-7855, or online at USSTN.com. Happy Tuesday. Grab yourself some tacos. Thanks for coming along to the Chad Benson Show. Immigration is an interesting battle that's still going on. And AOC and a lot of other people out there are, it's so weird to think that we are working against ourselves in some sort of bizarre, like super awesome, look at me, I'm going to go out and wave my super sanctimonious flag that I have virtue signaled and done great things to help people that aren't here legally get away from the federal government, which is mind-boggling to me. It is. And I bring that up because, well, first of all, this is the one of the chiefs of police out there in Massachusetts talking about what they will and won't do when it comes to immigration.
I do know this. Our officers are, abide by the laws here in the state and certainly the city ordinance in the city of Boston. We don't have authority to enforce federal immigration law. And so from our perspective and what we tell anyone who comes to visit our city, lives in our city, is that we don't care about your immigration status.
Okay, well, that's great. But what about the people that are, let's just say, I'm going to throw this out there, not the nicest, maybe have had some issues, maybe have gone through a system, and during their going through said system, they've been adjudged as not qualifying for the asylum and have been told you must leave. Maybe they've committed crimes. You don't want to work with people? Fine. If that's the way we're going to be. Could you imagine? I mean, what other business does this? Well, they're federal. We're state and local. I get that. I mean, in theory, if somebody robs a bank and the local police arrest you, they don't have to give you over to the feds, even though it's a federal crime. They don't have to. We could work together, or we could just let him go. No, Chad, no, that's the reality of it. Come back later on at a later date, maybe. That's what we've got going on. And now we've got people in the federal government, AOC, going out and saying, hey, let me tell you how to get around some of these things and explaining to the NGOs, that's the non-governmental organizations, how they can help people get around these ICE agents and what might happen.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that.
So when he meant the AG, not the AOG, and he put them all together, they became one. That right there, of course, is the czar himself, Tom Homan. And take away the gruff exterior and all that kind of stuff. That's a fair question to ask. So you are advising people how to elude ICE. Even if you were wanted by ICE for several different things, even if you've got an order to be removed, which I've heard for years, that's all the Democrats want. Let them go through the system. So once they've gone through the system and they've been told they do not meet the standards of asylum, it still doesn't matter. And that's the game that's being played. By the way, I didn't vote for the non-governmental organizations while you're whining, bitching, and moaning about Elon Musk, but you're allowing people to escape through here. And this is where we have to, if I'm Congress, come up with punishments for the non-governmental organizations that are going to do all of these things, where maybe you strip them of their funds. That's number one. Now, if you've, as I remind everybody, whatever's been allocated, which has been the Republicans who've controlled the House, who've allocated this, that money has to go there. When it has to go there, the frame period, the time frame is, between now and the end of the fiscal year. But so Trump can't just yank that away. But future, absolutely, you could. And tell everybody civilly, you could be charged if you help somebody who is wanted, he escapes, or she, because I want to make sure that we're gender neutral here, does something awful, commits a crime, that you can be held responsible if you were knowingly helping that person elude capture. And we're not talking about the grandma down the street. We always have to preface it because we're not. They're going to get caught up in this because you're forcing the hand of ICE, because they've already got a big enough job without enough people working, without enough judges. They've already got a tough job. But the fact that you want states and cities to work against them, even when you've got somebody in custody who's a bad person, is mind-boggling.
You can claim you're educating those constitutional rights. Okay, you can keep that claim. What she in fact doing is telling people don't open your door, hide in your home, don't talk to ICE. We're talking about people who are in the country illegally, committed a crime, they're a public safety threat, they've been convicted of serious crime, and they've been ordered removed by a federal judge. So it's like AOC and others don't want ICE to enforce the laws that they enacted. She's a member of Congress. Let us enforce the laws you enacted. That's what we're supposed to do. Impediment is impediment, in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that.
And impediment is impediment. I mean, you guys know how I feel. We're not going to get rid of everybody, as much as a lot of you listening would love that. It's just not going to happen. We don't have the manpower. We also don't have the will. And that includes many Congress people that are out there who don't have the will to get rid of everybody because they recognize the drain it would be on our economy. They recognize the fact that we just, I mean, think about it. He's hoping for 1,500 a day, 2,000 a day. You can only hold them for 48 hours. We only have 4,200 beds, and they're always kind of full. So we're releasing a lot of people. We take 2 steps forward and, 1 3/4 step backwards at best. So, but we've got to get the worst first. And if we can't even concentrate on that because we have people that are willing to run interference, is insane. It is mind-boggling that we were working against ourselves. Like he pointed out there, you're part of the federal government. And you're telling people this is how you go about getting out of here. You've got the Pope, before he went to the hospital. If you guys didn't hear, he got not 1, but 2 pneumonias. Double the pleasure, double your fun. 2 pneumonias instead of just 1. Somebody's probably going, that's not very nice, Chad. He's the Pope.
You're horrible, man. How could you
that.
say that?
I'm okay with that. But you've got him sending out to the bishops in America this letter basically saying you got to do everything you can to protect. And it's just, I'm fascinated by this. Being somebody who's been in a team, and I'm not saying that, look, I don't want our cops anywhere going out and being immigration people. That's not their job. I don't want them doing any of those things. I don't think they should be asking for your papers. That being said, if you say, hey, we know you got so-and-so, he's wanted for 3 things, including 2 back home, right? He's on the red list somewhere, wherever home is. And, oh, by the way, he's already been through the asylum process, and we have an order to be removed, and he's exhausted all of his stuff, and you're like, we're just going to let him out the back. What does that say? Follow the laws and orders except for when it maybe socially doesn't make us feel good? That's just the most insane thing ever. That's where we are. What other business or country operates like this? It's fascinating to me. And it shouldn't be fascinating. It should just be like, this is what I come to expect. But even when you go through the steps and you talk it out in your mind, okay, wait, you're part of the federal government. And one of the few things the federal government actually is supposed to really do is enforce immigration laws. And you're working against those immigration laws. That, to me, is nuts. And will continue to be this way. Because I don't think it's changing anytime soon. I think this battle is going to go on for quite a while because, alas, we're at a place now where it is more important to virtue signal. It is more important to say, look at the things that I've done. It is more important to push over the imaginary statue, all the while telling everybody, you should listen to what the federal government say. You should listen to all of these things, except for this thing. Don't listen to this. Don't listen to any of this. Don't listen to this. And if you have to, hide people. Well, what ends up happening? Guess who gets caught? The people that most people go, I don't think they should be deported. We got to find out some way for them to stay. But the guy that's sitting in jail, you're going to let them out the back. So go after them civilly and allow those NGOs to be sued if they are running interference and something gets traced back to somebody getting out of there. Because once people start to feel it in their pocketbook, they're going to feel it in ways that you cannot believe. Earlier today, our good buddy, Tim, that's right, Congressman Rashid, was on with CNN talking about the Doge. And first of all, it's a 10-minute question from the lady on CNN.
Right, but you know, I think that there's a lot of Americans who are supportive of this effort to clear out government waste, including members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. But there's also concern by how much access Musk and Doge staffers have to their private sensitive data. You're also on the House Oversight Committee, and given what we just talked about, Musk's investments with China and billions of dollars before the government, and now, you know, potentially having access to all this private sensitive data and not having full transparency on what is happening with that.
Yes, ma'am.
What information do you actually have on what Doge is doing with that data? What are your questions? What do you want to know? Certainly, as a member of the Oversight, you have some questions.
So after 27 minutes of her asking the question, Burchett finally got answered.
Well, first of all,
by the way, my answer it halfway through, she has to interrupt him because he doesn't answer it the way she wants him to.
Elon Musk, when he owned PayPal, they never had a breach of security. IRS is a nightmare, ma'am. You have folks that still haven't gone back to work 3 or 4 years after COVID. As a United States congressman, I can write a letter of concern over a constituent of mine that's having a problem with the IRS, and it takes up to 6 months for me to get a response.
Look, I'm not saying there's no problems with government agencies or the IRS.
Hold on. You asked me a question.
But you're not answering it.
And the IRS the IRS has hundreds of different groups that have access to this stuff. And yet, no one's complained about that. You don't hear
there's checks and balances in place for the specific system. That's not true. Even the IRS, even politicals and the former IRS commissioner who was just on the show yesterday said even he didn't go to it, and it's highly unusual for politicals to have access to that system. Do you not have questions about what they're doing with the data, why they want access to private tax information from Americans? Do you not have those questions as a member of the Oversight Committee?
What do you think's going to happen? Like, just curious. What do you think's going to happen in that situation? Do you think that he's going to take that money and give it? He's going to take that information and sell it to China. I mean, you kind of alluded to, well, he's got access to China. Do you think that he is going to take everybody's Social Security and find the best person with the best FICO score and steal their identity? I'm not quite sure. What do you think is going to happen? You have everything goes to, it's always nefarious. And we've been saying this for days. It is the messenger that you do not like in many cases. It's not the message. And you are fine with cuts if you're a liberal and it comes from military. But if it comes from elsewhere, and by the way, Trump has already said he'd like to see the Pentagon cut by 50%. That's huge. And he said he would like to see Russia, China, and us come together to figure out how we can start getting rid of a ton of these nuclear weapons. Stuff that if anybody else was saying it, they'd be like, man, this guy wants a Nobel Peace Prize. But instead, it's evil. We're cutting. It's crazy. It's federal government, kids, and this is the way we work it. We're hiding people and explaining how to hide them, and at the same time, we're also saying, hey, government waste is bad, but aren't these people nefarious? Coming up, Doug had a party this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Prize Picks is awesome. You're saying, what's Prize Picks, Chad? Well, let's talk about Prize Picks. First and foremost, it's a great way to enjoy the basketball season. Because football season's over, basketball's here, and I'm all about basketball over-unders. That's what we're looking at. And you're thinking, okay, tell me a little bit more about this. Well, first, go download Prize Pick app. So when you do that, you are going to use my code CHAD, and the minute you play your first $5 lineup, win or lose, you get $50 bonus right there. So let's talk about basketball season. Do you think that, I don't know, Steph Curry in this next game is going to make more or less than 5 3-pointers? Giannis score more or less 30 points? You choose. That's simple. There's your lineup right there. Tons of promos. Tonight's Taco Tuesday. You can earn up to 1,000 times your money. It's that simple. Plus, using my code CHAD with Prize Picks gets you a $50 bonus when you play your first $5 lineup. Do it now. Go download the app. Play my code CHAD. Get that $50 bonus when you play your $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Tracking the approaching winter storm. Little Rock getting hammered right now. An FDA official has now stomped out of the room due to Doge. These stories and more at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Was the event of the season, thrown by the host who's stolen our hearts. Doug's winter party drawing dozens of neighbors over the weekend, lucky enough to score an invite to Doug Turner's home in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
It's been a great connection with a bunch of good neighbors.
Doug's fun-loving spirit inspiring people to throw their own winter parties, joining in as Doug's party was streaming, and thousands more fans from around the country and beyond getting in on the fun.
I thought we were going to have 20 people, maybe 100. There's been thousands registered.
From Texas to North Carolina and all the way north to Calgary, Canada, dancing the night away under a banner with Doug's iconic line.
That's right. Doug had his party this weekend. We did participate. First, we watched the hockey game, which was awesome. USA.
You didn't go?
We did not. Well, they only wanted the neighborhood to go because they were worried. Doug he's 87, right? There's only so much Doug's going to be able to do. By the way, there was a lot of drinking there, and Doug was he
well, when the invite ends with "until the cops come," you pretty much guaranteed there's going to be some drinking.
Yeah, and so let's remember how we got to this place.
It all started with 87-year-old Doug Turner's party invitation to his neighbor going viral.
That's an invite to a party on February 15th.
The time, 4 p.m. until the cops arrive.
The cops never showed up.
Neighbor Michelle Hernandez's video of Doug hand-delivering her invitation now has more than 2 million views. Social media lighting up with news of the party.
I think everybody should have a neighbor like Doug.
And celebrities like Michael Bublé joining in on the fun.
Doug, your winter party. Sounds amazing.
Fan mail arriving from around the world.
From Australia, my sweet neighbor inviting us to his party. And there's my picture on the front.
It was awesome, right? So we joined in. We watched the hockey game, and then we joined in, and they were all having a good time. And there were parties all over the world. And the reason it took, I think, it got everybody kind of paying attention was it was an old guy. He's 87. He's a widower. He's in his cane, goes up, rings the door. Out comes this young woman. She's in her mid-20s and hands her a handwritten letter. Hey, I'm having a party. Come on over. Just for the neighborhood. And it reminded everybody, wait a minute here. We've got neighbors? I didn't know people lived in the place next to me. I thought I was the only one here. And it brought a bit of humanity to a world right now that's divided, and he talked about that.
Build up the strength of a neighborhood, yeah. To me, it's part of humanity, I guess. Somebody had to start it, and maybe this will continue to go on, during the spring, summer, and fall, and around every year.
Doug Turner proving bringing neighbors together never gets old.
So I hope to see you next time.
I think it's kind of embarrassing to me because my dad was not a braggart and he hated it, so he'd be unhappy with this. But the thing I do like about it is if other people really are setting up parties for their neighborhood friends, that's going to be a good thing in the country because we're kind of divided now. And this might fix some of that, I hope.
And I like that.
I think I read somewhere that the chief of police actually put out a statement saying, unless there's something serious, you don't have to worry about us shutting you down.
Yeah. And in fact, the cops came, they swung by a couple times, he said, but they never came in. They just want to make sure everything was okay. They went till about 12:30, he said, and then it was time for Doug to go to bed. But they raided his liquor closet, he said. They're taking all his whiskey and whatnot. And
wait, the guests were?
Yeah. All the neighbors are like, hey, let's break out the good stuff. But there was so much stuff. And apparently there's a warehouse now because so much stuff was sent to him. They showed like parts of his house. There was so many snacks, so much alcohol. Doug was going to have a party. But the humanity side of things, because this was, I guarantee you got 28 people in your neighborhood. Unless you're in Berkeley or, in super deep red area, you probably got, and Bucks County is one of those states. I mean, Pennsylvania is one of those swing states. You're going to get people from all walks of life. And that's what it was. And it was interesting to see the way that people rallied around him. But like you said, we're all divided. And I think we can come together a little bit more and actually not see our neighbors as red and blue, even though they put a Trump sign outside or whatever. Coming up, might do the shark story again because it was just so fun. If you guys haven't heard, we got a great shark story.
You're so mean to that poor girl.
No, she was mean to all of us. We'll talk a bit about that, bunch of other stuff. Of course, Matt's coming up here in a little while. And, well, come on. And this party's been going all day. We're never stopping. And we're going to find out how cold it's going to be because the snow, from what I hear, is a-coming. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and yes, that snow is coming right now just west of Memphis and right there over the Boot Hill of Missouri. Stretches all the way up into the Dakotas. And right now, Little Rock, Arkansas, getting hammered with both snow and ice. So here in Middle Tennessee, we expect the first flakes to start falling in West Middle Tennessee around 5 o'clock today, places like Clarksville. And then at 8 o'clock tonight in Nashville. Full forecast in 5 minutes. And Governor Bill Lee and other state leaders touring flood-damaged areas to assess needs from the flooding today. He says FEMA's already reached out.
They have reached out twice to us and said, what do you need? How are things going? Kind of touching base to make sure it's working well. That is where it stands right now. We're obviously still in the phases of understanding the depth of damages across the state in multiple places, but they've basically just been offering to help.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says flooding is to blame for 14 deaths now in the Bluegrass State. Nearly 250 people rescued by helicopter yesterday in Marion County. Southern and eastern parts of Kentucky getting the most damage. But Carrie Guy in Louisville says it's pretty bad there.
It looks like we're going to be probably displaced for about 10 days before we get back in, before the water level drops enough for us to get back into the houses.
And in our nation's capital, the Food and Drug Administration official tasked with ensuring safety in the nation's food supply has resigned. Brian Clark has more on what he said in his resignation letter.
Jim Jones told the acting FDA commissioner he was looking forward to pursuing the department's agenda to reduce diet-related chronic disease and risks from chemicals from food, but says he's resigning because of what he called the indiscriminate firing of about 89 people. A source confirmed to ABC News he told the acting commissioner it would have been fruitless to continue.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Rough Greens right now wants to give you a Jumpstart trial bag of their amazing Rough Greens. Now, they have Meow Greens and Rough Greens. Right now, they're doing a 90-day challenge for your dog. So what is Rough Greens? Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. It's a living supplement with enzymes and stuff. You put it right on top of your dog's food once a day, and away it goes. It's going to help your dog. So the 90-day challenge looks like this. First 30 days, shinier coat, more energy. By day 60, your dog's going to be happier, healthier, less shedding. Their immune system's going to be strengthened, as well as their joint function. And by day 90, better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health. You might even have reduced their chance at cancer. Why is that? Because of the living nutrients you're putting on your dog's food. Try a Jumpstart trial bag today. It's not going to cost you anything but shipping. It's just a few bucks. RUFFgreens.com. Use code Chad. Roughgreens.com. Use code Chad. Take the 90-day challenge with Rough Greens. Roughgreens.com. Use code Chad.
Calling me, man, they're shocked. Oh, hey, you wouldn't believe it. Who got killed?
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home.
Cold. Wintry. What are they talking about in Illinois?
Illinois?
Could be minus 30.
Goodness.
I mean, look, we're like, oh, my God, I might have to put gloves on. You know, they're like, hey, you could die on the way to the car. They're saying minus 20 to 30 it's 50 degrees below normal is what they're thinking.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Global warming.
It is total. It's man, bear, pig right there. So 60 million of us are going to be under super double, triple secret probation for weather. So what are we expected later on today? Like Nashville, like for us.
Nashville at 8 o'clock, Brother Chad.
8 o'clock. I'm ready for that bad talk.
8 o'clock all the way to 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
13 hours of giant snow. It's going to be like we're living in North Dakota.
Although I just texted Mom and Dad over in Tulsa where radar is showing snow, and they say that they've only got like an inch.
All right. Well, let me tell you something, guys. If you think that that's bad, what's happening in Illinois, ready for this one?
Yeah.
Montana and North Dakota, minus 60.
No, not going to do it.
Not going to do it. Just wouldn't be prudent.
No. See, I mean, that's like whenever we lived in Boise for 10 years. And I'm not lying whenever I say we would go for 2 weeks at a time with the high temperature not getting over 5 degrees.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
That's insane.
I couldn't stand it.
So we're going to be, for the next couple days, our lows are going to be single digits.
Yes. Yeah.
It's going to be cold, people. If you're thinking, well, you know, if you don't have to drive tomorrow, it's probably best that you don't. And I would assume that most of you probably are thinking your kids aren't going to be in school tomorrow.
Yeah, don't forget, you're going to need to stock up on about 50 loaves of bread and about 400 gallons of milk. Otherwise, you're going to die.
That's right. Forgot we're all about that. That is insane. Speaking of insane, and there's plenty of it out there, can we just say how insane the plane crash was and the fact that nobody died is otherworldly. And if you haven't seen it, it's everywhere now because some crew members who were on the ground in their truck waiting, I don't know if they're a refueling truck, they were like, hey, let's film this because there's a film everywhere now. And it's crazy.
They thought they were filming just another landing.
Yeah. Because, you know, a lot of people, have you seen that plane that comes in? I know, what island is that where it goes right over the beach? Have you seen that?
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's somewhere in the Caribbean.
Yeah, where it's like, you almost look like you could just reach up and grab the tire kind of thing. I mean, it's that close. Well, they're just filming, and the thing hits the ground, and nobody died. Thank God.
That entire event is a PSA for wearing your seatbelt.
Oh, totally, totally. They talked about, several people have now come out and said, hey, look, it was out of nowhere.
There was no warning. We were coming in for our landing, and when the plane came in, we hit the runway really hard and like extremely hard, and we kind of popped up, and it felt like we were leaning to the left.
And they leaned to the left, and then it all came apart. So the wings, which had the fuel in it, came off. But you see the black smoke and the plume, and it looks like it's ready to explode. But it was just so weird watching because it looks like it's coming down normal. There was no Mayday call or anything, and then it just looked like it fell off like a cliff. It just, boom, hit the ground and then came apart. And I don't even know if they were on a runway at that point in time because it was just snow everywhere.
Considering the weather, I won't be surprised if there was some wind issues that caused that.
Yeah, that's what several people had said. We were cruising in, and you could feel that there was some ugliness going on with the wind. And it was nasty. And there had been, God knows how many flights had been canceled that day into that airport. But for whatever reason, they thought, well, let's just try it anyways, because they've probably done it 1,000 times. And while they wouldn't probably do it, knowing how bad it was, it probably got worse along the flight. And they felt, well, we're already past the point of no return when it comes to fuel. So we're going to have to go and land. And when they hit the ground,
it was just incredibly fast. There was a giant firewall down the side. I could actually feel the heat through the glass. And then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we tumbled, but we ended upside down. I was hanging there in my seatbelt upside down.
And many people filmed on their way out too, which Belle is fascinated with.
Like and subscribe for similar content.
Content. It was, but I also think you're at the point too where you hit the ground and then it happens so fast. So you don't have the buildup of the anticipation, you're tensing up and all that kind of stuff. They thought maybe it would be a rough landing, and then it happens really quick, and then you realize, okay, I'm okay, and then it's just go, and you don't even get to go down the little tube, which is,
Well, it would have been reversed. It would have been reversed. It would have been pointing up.
Oh, my goodness. Thank God nobody was hurt. So 80 people were on the plane.
21 people hurt, but nobody killed.
Yeah, and one was critical, but I think everybody's pretty much out of the hospital minus that critical.
The last time I saw on Fox News, they said 19 of the 21 had been released.
That's good. Thank God for that. The wind, though. The wind plays a huge role because wind is what, guys? Nature. Nature will mess you up. Because it will. This is the best story of stupidity we have had. There's a lot of stories of stupidity. Every year, there's a few people who do something ridiculous. It's just, it boggles the mind on how dumb people can be. But we always talk about animals because you go out in the ocean, there's animals. You go in the woods, there's animals. Stuff happens, right? That happens. That being said, every year we talk about the idiot that goes and tries to pet the bison, or somebody does something with the bear, or there's an elk over here and you guys are idiots. We're going to get it on camera. And
somebody's pet chimpanzee tears their face off.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about the elk and the moose and the bison is they're always walking by a sign that says, don't get close to them.
Yeah.
Always. Well, this lady did something ridiculous. She went in the ocean and she decided, I'm going to give me a selfie with a shark.
In a shocking incident that has left many in disbelief, a Canadian tourist, identified locally as 55-year-old Natalie Ross, lost both her hands in a brutal shark attack while vacationing in the Turks and Caicos Islands at Thompson's Cove Beach, a popular spot for tourists seeking sun and surf. Eyewitnesses report that Ms. Ross was attempting to engage with the shark for a photograph when the unthinkable happened.
Really? Now, let me ask you this, guys. A shark biting a human being. So you do not know the shark. It is probably a bull shark. You don't know it. It's 6 to 7 feet long, and it's the unthinkable? That's unthinkable? I don't know. I thought it was going to, maybe slap me in the butt with a fin. I didn't know it was going to do that. You're an idiot for even thinking that. You wanted to take a picture with an animal that can kill you. You got what you got. No more high fives for you.
In a shocking incident that has left many in disbelief, a Canadian tourist, identified locally as 55-year-old Natalie Ross, lost both her hands in a brutal shark attack while vacationing in the Turks and Caicos Islands at Thompson's Cove Beach, a popular spot for tourists seeking sun and...
So lost both hands. So both hands are gone, okay? I just want you guys to understand, both hands.
Local authorities stated that her husband bravely tried to fight off the 6-foot predator as it attacked, but the damage had already been done.
Because she doesn't have hands.
Distressing images from the scene show Ms. Ross lying on the beach, surrounded by her family and other beachgoers who were desperately trying to stop the bleeding from her catastrophic injuries.
And the embarrassment.
Reports indicate that she lost both hands and suffered a severe bite to her thigh. After the attack, she was airlifted to a nearby hospital and is expected to survive despite her life-altering injuries.
Now, normally you go in the ocean and a shark bites you. It's a horrible thing, but you're in the ocean. It happens. That's why I always say nature messes you up, right? Like you go out and you're in the woods and cubs come around the corner. Mama bear's not too far away. Stuff can happen. You didn't do it that way. This is the kind of person that would go pick up the cub because she thinks the bear knows me, that I'm a vegetarian and I love bears.
Yeah, it needs a mama.
You're an idiot. And I don't care what people say, oh, that's me. No, you're an idiot. You tried to take a picture with an animal, and if it is a bull shark, which it looks like it is has the most testosterone than any animal on the planet. That includes the rhino, and that includes a bull elephant. It is nothing but a machine. It is way more dangerous than a great white shark. The great white shark just happens to be so big that when it takes a bite, the damage is massive.
Right.
These things are totally different. But it's nature, kids. When you go into the ocean, there's always a potential. But you put yourself in harm's way by trying to get a picture with it.
There had to be alcohol involved.
I hope there is.
There had to be alcohol involved, man.
Like, let's say the crocodile hunter. We all know he died, and it was horrible. You even mentioned it.
Yeah.
And some people got mad at me last hour. I can't believe you're saying this is not very... Yes, Timothy Treadwell. We all remember him. What an idiot. He was fantastic, though. But the day after the crocodile hunter died, a guy by the name of Norm Macdonald, God rest his soul, went on Jon Stewart's show. And John was asking him some questions when Norm pivoted.
I wanted to talk about the crocodile hunter. Did you? Because I think...
you're going to make him sad.
Because I think, it was tragic at the time. But I think...
This day after.
I don't know. People calling me, man, they're shocked. Oh, hey, you wouldn't believe it. Who got killed? The crocodile hunter.
Please don't make me laugh at this.
This is not good. He was 44 years old. I'm like, that's a ripe old age for a crocodile hunter.
That's not...
And if you watch the video, by the way, Jon Stewart is trying not to laugh.
Oh, yeah.
But it is hard not to because Norm Macdonald, the way he delivers it, and the fact that when you think about it, it is kind of silly.
Now, you know who had to be pissed about it were the crocodiles. Because he got killed by some fruity fish. And so, the crocodiles were like, hey, man, that crocodile hunter got killed. Who did it, Frank? You don't even want to know, man.
Please don't do this anymore.
Bill, man, you had a chance once. The guy go, man, I had a chance. I had that mother. He was Tommy with a stick. I could have eaten him and his kid.
Oh, my God. Oh, Norm. The way he delivered was brilliant. But the crocodile hunter, he hunted crocodiles as well as many other things and played in places that he knew was dangerous.
Well, and what he was playing with, surely he knew he was not in the right position to be playing with a stingray.
Yeah.
Because those tails come up.
And they did.
And it's a spear.
And that's what it was. And the minute it got him in the heart, it was over. He was done. So, but he also knew every day he took a risk. And you know what he didn't do? Take a picture with them.
No. No.
That he didn't know.
Oh, hold on. I got to get a picture as I lay here dying. And get a selfie.
Having not ever been around animals like this. Yeah. Because you wanted to have a remembering super duper thing to put on your shelf at home. Hey, honey, remember when we went to Turks and Caicos and I lost my hands? Man. Now you got a conversation starter. High five.
I mean, it is life-changing for her.
When that woman woke up, she was heard to say, well, that wasn't what I had planned.
No. She can't even say, hold my beer anymore. Somebody's already holding it.
I wonder what she does for a living. I mean,
She was a juggler.
She can have cup holder stumps.
Oh, my God. You guys are the worst. Are we? Are we really? Because we just heard Norm talk about somebody beloved, not a drunk Canadian woman trying to take a picture with a fierce animal. Not even the crocodile hunter would do that. We'll wrap it up straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. You all right? We good?
I think I have the snow flu.
Oh, the
You know what I'm saying?
The snow flu.
The old snow flu.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Murphy in the house. What's up, man? We're just talking about
Hello, Chadwick.
Lady got her hands bit off by a shark.
That's unfortunate.
Well, she tried to take a selfie with it and didn't want anything to do with it.
Ought not be. It's like those women. I think I heard a little bit of this. It's like those folks that, I think you may have said that. Yeah, don't approach the bison. Don't go near the bison.
They're our favorite.
You really don't need to. And then
and you
they
know
sue.
what? I'm at the point in my life where if I was there, I'd be like, go to them. See what happens. They love hugs.
I'm always rooting for the animals. There was a story. I did not do this story, but it was out of, I want to say Australia, New Zealand, somewhere where a jockey got killed. Did you see this? A jockey in a horse race.
Yeah.
fell off the horse, got trampled, got killed.
That happens.
I don't care.
No. I mean, it's no.
I have no sympathy. I don't care. It's what you did.
If
I mean,
you're
you know what?
racing
They
a car,
shoot horses all the time because of horse racing. Horse goes down, goes lame, boom, shoot him right there on the track. They put little barriers up. Yeah.
If you're racing a car and you crash into a wall and you die, you knew the risk before you got in the car.
God bless you. I mean, I'm sure it's very exciting. I'm sure it's exciting horse racing. I'm sure you had a lucrative career, little person.
Little person.
You're dead now. I don't know.
No.
We all
Tiny
got a
casket.
Tiny casket.
You know those little cars, the little midget hearses. You know what I'm talking about? Those little. Can I say midget?
I don't know.
You know, this is your fault.
At least twice.
This is your fault.
You can say
because
midget. I got no
you
problem with that.
played my favorite comedian moments before I came on
Norm?
here. Yeah, he's my favorite.
That was when he did that. It was, first of all, watching Jon Stewart try not to laugh because he felt horrible because it had just happened. It was like a day or two before. And he just like he's asking a regular question. He goes, "Do you know what I want to talk about?" And he's like, "Oh, God."
I'm not talking about that.
That was so awesome.
I just absolutely love the
But
man.
I don't ever feel bad. Like if you're in the ocean, like a young girl died last week in Australia. She was she was part of their surf force where she would go out and help people. That was like a lifeguard, but a little bit different. But she got attacked by a great white shark or whatever. She wasn't out trying to take a picture of it.
Right.
You know,
I mean, that's different.
Yeah.
But like Grizzly Man, I got no
Timothy Treadwell.
sympathy for Grizzly
He's our
Man.
favorite. That's Ken's favorite right there.
What an
Timothy
idiot.
Treadwell.
What a moron.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Bear.
Yeah, that guy was...
I mean, I feel I don't even feel bad for his girlfriend.
Yeah.
actually.
Somebody said my compassion is incredible. It's not. Not for stupid things. You play a stupid game, you should win a stupid prize.
Have you told why have you been up for 48 hours or whatever? Have you told this story?
My whole life I've always been this way. There are times when I just will go 2 or 3 days and I just can't sleep at all. And I don't feel, but I've done a lot of shows and stuff today, but I just don't sleep. So last night I went to bed at like 9. By about 2:30 in the morning, after sitting there and just doot,
infuriating.
And I just got up and said, I'm just going to go to work and do my stuff. That's what I've done.
Okay.
It happens. You know?
think you'll sleep tonight, you think?
Maybe. It's possible.
Watch the snowfall.
I'm excited about the
all nice.
snowfall. What are you going to talk about on your show? Snow?
You know what? It's a continuation of something that I did. You know, in the 6 o'clock hour, it occurred to me, it's a little Murphy rant, that we've been, the leftists in this country have been lying to us for all of the time that I've been alive, right?
Yeah.
And if nothing else, what is happening with Doge, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump is that we're exposing this grand lie, and they will continue to lie as long as we let them, in as much as they claim that they want to cut government waste, fraud, and abuse, and they do not. They absolutely do not. They have no interest in cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. If they did, they would be invested in it instead of trying to nitpick it to death to put a stop to it.
Yeah,
So that's what
it's about the messenger in this one as much as it's about the message.
I don't think it's about the messenger.
Oh,
I don't think any messenger would ever get them to agree to cut government spending. They are addicted to government. That's my take.
Well, I just think it is the messenger in a lot of ways, because I think if it had been, and it's also, where are you cutting it from? Because if you're cutting it from the Pentagon, I bet a lot of these people are fine with
maybe
it.
so. Maybe
But the reality is the messenger has a lot to do with it. But yeah, but nobody's interested in having anything cut, because if you're cutting something, that means chances are you may lose out on some of that, which means you may lose your job.
And we'll try to find some of our federal or state government employees that have been let go and see what they think about it, too.
There you go. That's coming up straight in on the Matt Murphy Show. You guys have a blessed rest of your day, and stay dry out there as the snow hits us. Woo! It's Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.